It's me, Mario.
Welcome everyone to Legion Gaming. I'm your host Donnie. As always, I'm joined by my co-host Deuce.
It's a me.
And we have a very special guest on our 64th episode. As always, the 8-bit barrister Vito.
Hey everyone, glad to be back.
How are you fellas doing today?
I am excited because I was sick a little bit last week. I'm feeling a lot better now, and this is, I don't think I put it in the top ones when we did our episode on systems, but this is one of my favorite systems of all time.
It is. This is a very special episode for us. This is all about the Nintendo 64. So the three of us all have our top 10 Nintendo 64 games list, and we held off, if you listen to our previous episode, which I titled 63 and a third, because we wanted to reserve episode 64 for this very specific reason. So,
and we wanted to honor Clay Fighter in the last one.
And exactly, that's a little tongue-in-cheek reference, which also, I guess, is sort of a narrative thread to 64. So all worked out, all things considered. But yeah, this is going to be a really special episode because I don't think I put the N64 on my top three either, but it's still one of my favorite systems. It's just, I forgot what my top three were. It's probably like Dreamcast, PS2, and Super Nintendo, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Hard to beat those for me.
I think mine was what? Super Nintendo, PS2, and Switch?
I think so.
Which, I mean, you can play a lot of N64 on Switch.
You can,
days.
yeah. So it'll be a really fun episode because we're going to talk about the history of the N64, what led up to it, and then, of course, get to our top 10s. And then we'll also be doing dishonorable mentions and honorable mentions because this list was very hard. I don't know about you guys, but my top 10 was really difficult, particularly the top three, and then also the other 7 were really hard to kind of place because there's stuff where I wanted to fit it in, but I had to consider other games that should have been in there. So it was pretty tough for me.
Yeah, this one was tough for me, and I'd made this list way back when we did like our top Game Boys or something like that, and I just thought, one day we're probably going to do N64 because we've already done NES way back in episode 2, and it's just fun. I always like ranking the games after I've played the systems, and this one, though, we played a ton. We had Blockbuster at our fingertips. We had allowance money. We just had more access to all these games compared to NES and Super NES.
Well, that's what exactly I was going to mention, is because we grew up with the Nintendo first. We were really young, and then we got the Super Nintendo, and that's when we all met. We were like 6, 7 years old. Yeah. But I feel like the N64 and PS1 era, that's when we were, like preteens, like 11, 12 years old, 10 to 12. Mm-hmm. And that's really when we were getting really heavily into gaming, and I feel like I have as many memories as I have of old systems. The N64 is the one that I remember playing most with friends because it also brought us together because it had 4 ports. And we were also a little bit more cognizant of what we liked. So it's like I'd rent a lot of games that you might not rent and vice versa, and I'd bring them over and we'd all play them. So I feel like this was sort of the beginnings of our taste being defined for gaming for the rest of our lives.
I also think it's kind of funny that I don't think this system was as popular overall worldwide as you'll get to later in this episode, but it seemed that every one of my friends had an N64.
Yep, absolutely.
And then we all had different, we had some overlap like Super Mario, GoldenEye, but everyone had different games, so we were able to borrow each other's games, and so we got a good taste of the library just through that.
I think that's the key thing for sure, is like all my friends that I had then were usually Nintendo 64. I had a couple friends who had PS1, but that wasn't a multiplayer-centric system necessarily. There was a lot of that library is I would say is better than N64 in a lot of ways, but it wasn't for multiplayer. Like, it was 2-player at best.
Yeah,
you almost always played everything on N64, especially if you had a few friends with you as well.
I mean, they were very focused on RPGs or single-player story games, and even if there was something with a multiplayer, I'm thinking off the top of my head like Gran Turismo or Twisted Metal, you could only do 2-player, and they didn't really incorporate like CPU bots or anything, so it was just you and a friend. La-di-da.
They were really limited, both probably technically and also because a lot of them were thrown in, like it was just a multiplayer mode that didn't need to be there. Whereas N64 had a lot of multiplayer centric games, so I think it'll be a really fun episode. I know I said it all the time, but I think this one's like, we have a lot of funness and nostalgia for this particularly, so that's why it's going to be a little bit more special for this. But before we get to those bits and pieces, what have you guys have been playing lately?
Well, I have started up a game that I've had for a little while, and luckily it came out on the PS Plus monthly thing. I think it was that. And it's RoboCop Rogue City.
Yeah, one of my, I think I put this on my top 10 or honorable mentions for 2023, or no, it would have been 2024 because that's when I played it.
Yeah, one of them. I remember you just talking this up a bunch, and I think even like Randy borrowed it and played it real quick.
He beat it, yeah.
And I'm loving it. I didn't realize just like how much you were going to feel like RoboCop in this. They did a really good job with it. I saw in the options there was a little ticker that said footsteps on or off, and I'm like, what does that mean? So I kept it on, and luckily I did, because it is awesome when you're just stomping around as RoboCop.
You hear the weighty feet. The one chunk after another. I was like, I didn't even know that was an option, because I didn't even think of that as being an annoyance. I can understand why, because you're probably tired of it, but for me I was like, no, I need that to be RoboCop.
Yes. I feel like it. I walk around levels, even though there is a little sprint, quote unquote, loose definition of the term. But I don't. I just walk around slowly, and then I even stop and I turn like he would. I'm just like, yes, I really feel like it.
I really like the aiming in that game, because it goes. You see the scan lines, and it like highlights the dude just like he did in the movie.
Yep.
Like, it's so awesome.
Yeah, I really love that game. I got the platinum trophy on it, and it's not terribly long, and I will say it does have flaws, right? Because the end, when you get to it, you fight two ED 209s. And it's really cheap, but I cheaped it out because they can't go upstairs, so I just found like a higher platform.
Yes,
and I just sat there and just wailed on him for like 10 minutes. Right? It kind of sucks you have to do that, but I'd say that's my only criticism. It's like it does get kind of more of like a gauntlet towards the end, but beyond that, the story's really cool. It takes place between 2 and 3, and I'm glad you started, because I think you'll really like it, because it's not like a really long game. It's short but sweet, and like the side stuff is fun and silly. Like you get to give tickets to people.
Yeah, I've done that so far. I forgot you mentioned that, and I also forgot that you probably mentioned that it was a little bit open world.
It's
in smaller chunks, which I'm
is
fine
great.
with. Yeah.
The
only thing I'm not enjoying, my one nitpick right off the bat, is that like there is a lot to level up. It's a weird like XP system, and there's like a bunch of things to put little experience points into, and I don't like that early on there's like safes that you could crack but you can't, because you have to be a really high level for it, and I'm like, what's the point? I'm never coming back here. It's kind of a linear game.
You can kind of, I would say that's so the developer is Tion, I forgot how it's, I don't know how it's pronounced, but they did a Tomb Raider game, and I feel like that had the same flaw with their leveling system, where it's totally competent, but the thing is, like, it almost feels like it's either too slow, or you don't really have to spec in a certain way. Like you don't have to focus on certain abilities. Like you just focus on what you want, and that's all you need. It just feels like it's kind of half baked.
There's some things in there where I'm like, I'm RoboCop. I should have had this programmed into me from the start. Like I shouldn't have to level myself up. I'm already badass. You watched me in the first movie and the second one. So like, yeah, there shouldn't be much improvement. I do know that there's the things that can improve your gun. And
that's what I was going to mention. Yeah, those I spend more time with that, because you can get some like Terminator. You can get some really, at least I got some pretty crazy broken builds, like one where you don't need to reload, and like your damage gets amplified the longer you shoot or something like that. So I like that, because it's kind of silly and broken in some respects, but it has a little bit more meat than a leveling system. Like you said, like I don't want to level up RoboCop. Like he should be the ultimate RoboCop. He doesn't need it anymore. Like why is he? I forgot what the abilities were, but I think it's stuff like probably like quicker reload and stuff like that.
There's like there's better health or better armor. There's also like you can scan more and like from further away. And I'm like, no, I should just be able to scan.
Yeah. So it's just kind of ancillary. Like it doesn't really, it's fine that it's there, but yeah, it's not. It's almost like it doesn't need to be there, kind of thing.
Have you wrote any parking tickets yet?
Yes.
Okay.
I did too. There were some people I've given warnings to, but I was like, no, the parking, that gets a ticket.
Yeah, that just creates trouble for everyone if you don't. Yeah. Vito, what have you been playing?
Okay, well, I'm just gonna start kind of skim through this one. I'm still playing KCD2.
Wow.
What
How many episodes is this?
We don't even have him on every week.
No. So the thing is that I've been playing lots of other games, so I'll put it down for a little bit, and then they came out with the first expansion, Brushes with Death, and that was like 10 hours of content that they added on, so I got through that.
Yep.
So I'm like still working through it. It's great, but there's just tons of other stuff. Obviously, I've played Mario Kart World with both of you and Randy, and that's been really fun. I really have been enjoying that. And something came out that I didn't think I was going to like, because I didn't like the first one that much, and I've been enjoying it, and that's Death Stranding 2. Mm-hmm. I think the problems with the first one, they've fixed with the second one, mainly the original release of Death Stranding. It was a lot of walking, and not a lot of combat, especially at the beginning. And so I couldn't make it through it, right? And then I know they fixed that with the director's cut. They put vehicles and things like that in there, more accessible, I think, earlier. Death Stranding 2, there's combat from the beginning, vehicles from the beginning. It's just way more accessible. Although if you still don't like delivering packages, you're probably still not going to like the game. But I'd say it's really good, and it looks really great. And it's Kojima. I mean, you know what you're going to get with Kojima. Well, you don't know, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But,
well, it's like if you love him or hate him, you know that if you're getting a Kojima game, you already know what you're going to expect. Like you're going to be kind of binary about it. You're either going to love it or be like, nah, this isn't for me.
Something batshit.
Yeah, I mean that it definitely is. The story's really weird. The characters are weird, but it's really a great game. I'm enjoying it. It's a pleasant surprise for me. Like I said, I didn't think I was going to like it at all, but now I kind of want to get through it and maybe go back to the director's cut of the first one and see how different it is and give it a shot again. So we'll see.
I'd like to finish the first game because I forgot how many hours into it, but you know, you fall off when you get into a big open world game, and then when you don't go back, you're just like not overwhelmed, but you almost don't want to go back because you don't have to restart.
Yeah.
And I've already done that at least twice because I played on PS4, and then I think I started the director's cut when it was on Plus or something like that. But I'd like to get through those games because I like Kojima games. It's just sometimes they're just too big, which is what sucks for me about Metal Gear Solid 5. Is like I just got so sunken into the minutia of things that I never got to finish, unfortunately. And I feel like that's going to be the same case for Death Stranding 1 and 2 for me. Also,
another point I wanted to make about the first one is when you encountered the BTs, you really had to, at least in the original release of it, you had to stay hidden because your combat options were so minimal. It's almost like they did a 180 in this game because you see the BTs, you're like, oh well, like I'm just going to pull out my gun and get them, you know, and it's way easier.
There was a lot more dread with the first game because I do remember like almost dreading encountering the BT guys because it's like, I don't want to deal with this because it's almost like red light, green light, where you just have to stop and not move.
Oh god!
And they'll go over you. And it's like this is fine. Like I understand the narrative story here, but it's also like not very fun when I do get caught and have to redo this. You know?
Yeah. They fixed it, so it's good.
Yeah. So I'll get to that someday, I'm sure. For what I've been playing, I've been rotating a lot like usual. I'm still playing the Capcom Fighting Collection Volume 2 online because I just can't get enough of that. Where it's like I don't know what to play, and then I'll just be like, well, I'll just play, online a few matches, and then it's like I always say, it's like 2 or 3 hours later because I'll get in a little routine with somebody who just keeps hitting rematch.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's cool when I get in a vibe with
the
somebody.
Opposite of those rage quitters.
Yeah, exactly. I always love posting my rage quitters on Instagram because I always think it's really funny, especially when they quit in the first round.
Yeah.
The one I posted recently, which, I mean, if you're listening, you probably won't be able to see it, but that guy, he just gave up after the first match because I came back and beat them. So I always love playing that online.
Does that have... when you go online, does it randomly pick through all of the collection, or do you go into a specific game?
Yeah, you can select them. So I primarily play a lot of Street Fighter Alpha 3 and Capcom vs. SNK 2. And then you can toggle on the other games, like there's Plasma Sword, the Power Stone. So you can toggle those on, and it'll kind of match make whatever's available. But I just like playing CVS 2 and Alpha 3 because those are ones I'm most familiar with. And those are ones that are really fun. Like they're still... like Plasma Sword's dated. Like I love that game, but Power Stone's also really dated, right? Like it's a fun arcade game with your buddies, but maybe not so much online.
I forgot that it was in that collection, and that's really why I wanted that collection. And I also thought like, oh, we missed a chance. We could have played that when we had all the guys together.
That's right, we could have. Yeah, we weren't thinking of that. I forgot we played Mario Kart instead in WWE.
Yeah.
So yeah, we could play that because I'm sure my brother Bob, which you'll hear on a future episode, actually. We're recording this a little bit out of order. So the next episode we're doing is Twisted Metal episode 65. So keep your ears up for that one.
Yeah.
So I've been playing the Capcom game, and then I got into Fantasy Life I, which Deucey, you told me about. This is a life sim that's on the Switch 2, which is perfect for the Switch 2. This game is essentially an amalgamation of like Link's Awakening down to the art style looks a lot like Link's Awakening, actually, like Link's Awakening HD. And then some Animal Crossing and dungeon crawling, like randomized dungeons. And you just sort of build your life out in this island. Like there's a little bit of a story that has some time travel where you go back and forth between time. And you have like your settlements that you build and like your houses that you can decorate.
Damn.
You have like 14 different lives, which are just different jobs you can do, like chopping trees so you can craft new armor and equipments, or become a blacksmith or a cook. So there's a lot of variety here, which is cool because what I've been doing is I just been kind of chilling out playing this while I'm like watching a show or having a movie on, and you just like have it in portable mode. So it's worth playing if you like those kind of games. It's just like anything else, it's like there's a lot of monotonous mini games, which I think are fun for now. But then you get to a point where it becomes kind of grindy. But from what I've read, this game is the variety at least helps cut down on the grindiness of it. I don't know.
Yeah, shout out to the fan of the podcast, Jaylene, for mentioning this. She said she didn't know if she was going to have enough time to get into it. And I was like, what game is that? So I looked it up and I was like, oh, this looks like my next big, if I ever get it, my next big time suck like Stardew Valley was. I could just watch some show that I've seen 100 times on in the background and then just play this nonstop.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like even the combat, you have 3 different classes. Like I usually play a mage or a wizard, and there's like a mercenary and like an archer kind of thing. And the combat is really basic, but it plays great because it is like Zelda. Like you have your few attacks, you have some spells you can cast, and you have some abilities you can use. So it does just enough variety to keep things really interesting. But also like, what's great about it is like you could be on a quest to go go mine some copper or something, and you get distracted. Like, well, I could chop these trees down. I do need some trees to craft some potions, Yeah,
it sounds exactly like Stardew for me.
Yeah. It's like, oh, there's some seashells by the ocean here. I guess I'll grab those. I might need those.
Today is just else. Nothing but a tree chopping day.
Yeah. It's a game full of distractions. So I've been kind of playing that in addition to everything else. And then also I've been, you'll hear about this in the future podcast too. I've been playing Alone in the Dark, so I'll have more to say about that in a future episode, but I've been enjoying that. So yeah, it's just been a great time with games like always, and just never enough time for the backlog, even though we're slowly chipping away at that one.
Yeah, and now with Switch 2 coming out, they brought out the GameCube side of games. And
I've been excited about that because they already got some hits on there,
and that's just opened up my backlog a little too. I started Wind Waker, which I haven't played since back when it first released on GameCube. I also played some Mario Strikers, which that still hands me my ass if I'm on anything higher than Rookie. It is unbelievable. Like, you should have seen back in the day when I was living with Mike, and we would try to do these tournaments where we each had a team. It was like me, Mike, Randy, whoever, and all of us would lose to the computer, and we wouldn't progress in the tournament. We were just like, well, that was pointless.
I want to play that again because I really like that on GameCube. I don't remember the difficulty because I guess I probably just played it when you rented it. Did you own it? I think you
owned it,
right?
yeah.
So I probably played multiplayer and that was about it. But I wish I was telling you earlier, like I wish the Switch one was as good as I remember as the GameCube one.
Oh yeah,
because the Switch one we tried playing online. It sucks because you can't play 3-player, which I mean we have Vito now, which is great.
Yeah.
We could do it again, but it just felt like it was so barren of an experience compared to even the GameCube one. Like it just didn't have that many legs for us to stand on. It was just kind of like, all right, this is all right, but there's a billion other games you could play.
Yeah, there were some unlockables in that one, but like the single player of the Switch version didn't seem to last. It was
just tournaments.
It didn't give you a point to it. And so yeah, I think though they did add some things to it in future DLC patches and stuff, but that one was like, okay, that's fun for maybe a couch party.
Exactly.
And nothing more, unfortunately.
And unfortunately we haven't, I mean, that game's been out for like 2 or 3 years and we haven't touched it since.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll be resurfacing that one, but we might resurface the GameCube one, which is kind of ironic. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I think it's a good time to go back into the past, into 1996/2001 when this thing died. But let's get into our top 10 N64 games.
Yo, listen up. We will not live in a two-dimensional world.
We won't go in one direction
or seek where we can say.
We will walk through walls.
We will take a look around us.
We will not be confined.
We believe in the path of least limits.
We won't be told how to view the world.
We will experience true freedom.
We will not compromise. We will live the game through our hands.
We will be in control of something.
We will change the system.
All right, fellas, we're here. We're talking all about the Nintendo 64 today, so I thought we'd go into the history a little bit because our top 10 is, we have a lot of great games on our list, both on the honorable mentions list, and then we did sort of a final tally, which ended up being of like, I think it was like, was it top 15 or 16?
16.
We'll briefly go through that list, but it's sort of the aggregate of all of our total choices here. So that shows you like we have a pretty good variety of games on this list. But before we get into that, I wanted to get into the history of the N64 because it's pretty interesting, and I think this is perhaps one of the most weirdest break-off points for gaming in at least in gaming history because of what could have happened if things planned out, like if we got the Nintendo PlayStation.
Oh yeah.
Versus how things ended up when we got the Nintendo 64 on a cart-based system versus what they would have ended up with the Philips, which was the CDI.
Yeah.
So the N64 was originally codenamed Project Reality. It was going to be part of the fifth generation of consoles that included the PS1 and Saturn. And this was interesting that I didn't even really connect, but this was the last major console to use cartridges. I didn't realize that.
Oh yeah, that
before
makes sense.
the Switch, right?
Yeah.
So it was before then, before the Switch kind of went back to, or even the PSP Vita, which is portable. This was the last major home console to use cartridges.
This is an actual cartridge. Like the Switch now uses little cards, you could almost say, or chips practically. They're so small.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's almost like the size of an SD card. Yeah, it's pretty wild. So originally Nintendo explored the idea of developing a CD-ROM add-on for the SNES, which I think many, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably already knew that. It's like that was sort of the legend was Nintendo was seeking to lengthen the aging, I don't even call it aging Super Nintendo. They were just kind of looking forward because Super Nintendo was a couple years old in 1993, which is when all this kind of came about. And they're thinking about extending the life of the console, which I would guess they probably took a cue from Sega because they had the Sega CD. The Sega 32X hadn't come out yet, but Sega was famous for their add-ons.
Yeah.
Tower of Power.
Infamous for their add-ons.
Infamous, both for better or worse. They kind of pioneered add-ons and trying to add on to the Genesis, and that had some hit or misses. Like I would say it's more of a miss, unfortunately.
They literally had a hat on a hat on a hat.
Yeah, they did. That thing was a monolith, but it's also a monolith that I desperately wanted as a kid with all of its stupid transformations and whatnot. So Nintendo was in talks with both Sony and Philips because both companies were, in the CD media business of sorts, and Sony went as far as to create actual hardware prototypes for the add-on. Former executive Sean Layden said that Sony was actually going to announce the partnership and unveil the console at CES 1993, I think it was. But Nintendo, apparently, according to him, without telling Sony, announced that they will work with Philips instead.
Nope.
Now, you might know Philips because they created a CD system called the CDI in the early 90s. And that system had some licenses with Nintendo where they released some Nintendo games, which were, to me, like I know them at the time because I really didn't see them in magazines. I'm sure they were, but I didn't notice them. But it was pretty insane to have Nintendo properties like Zelda and Mario on a non-Nintendo system. Like that doesn't even happen today, really. Like, I don't think there's anything that's non-Nintendo based that has that. I mean, you can count mobile phones, arguably, right? Like,
oh, maybe, yeah.
iOS and Android.
Yeah.
But as far as back then, like the console wars, that was unheard of having a Nintendo game on a non-Nintendo system.
The timeless classic of Hotel Mario.
Yeah, Hotel Mario, and there's 3 Zelda games.
All hot garbage.
Yeah, exactly. None of them are good. And then I'd read that there was a couple of Mario games that were eventually canceled. I think it was called like Mario Wacky World or something like that. I don't know what it was. So they had more plans in place, and I'm sure that the disastrous sales of the CDI, I don't know what it ended up selling, but that system was, I think, one of those $500 or $700 systems at the time.
Yeah.
So no one owned it. It was a stupid idea to begin with. It's kind of insane that Nintendo went with Philips. But again, this is kind of like that breaking out point where I mentioned where it would have been really insane to see how the gaming world would be now if Sony had actually partnered with Nintendo and created it.
Yeah, I think I was talking to you about it briefly, where if you think about what went with Sony and PlayStation, like they eventually got Square, and I think you would have had all the Nintendo first party games, but now in CD form, they would have kept Square, so you would have gotten Final Fantasy. Mm-hmm. Rare probably would have wanted to stick around with both of them, and they wouldn't have been lured away by Microsoft eventually. So it would have been this crazy juggernaut, and I think Dreamcast might not have even been attempted, or it would have died sooner, and Microsoft might not have even lasted too long.
Yeah, Xbox may not have existed necessarily, or it's one of those things like you can't really hypothesize. Like you can imagine, but it's really difficult to imagine because it would have been just a totally different thing. It would have been a total 180 what we're seeing now, because at that CES, so the father of PS1, Ken Kutaragi, apparently he was obviously upset at the partnership announcement and felt pretty slighted, and he went back to Sony and said, look, give me an OS and a team, we'll make our own damn system, more or less. And that's what led to the PS1. So Nintendo, after things fell through with Philips, they decided that they're going to talk to Silicon Graphics Inc., which they've had experience with later on with like Donkey Kong 64 and Killer Instinct, like that whole partnership. And that's when, at this time, SGI was also looking to expand their supercomputing tech to more consumer. So they're looking for essentially a partner to figure out, some sort of agreement where they can release hardware, basically to grow their business in a sense, because I'd imagine they're probably more business oriented. So they figure if they open it to consumers, they can grow their business in that way. So Sega was also approached with the SGI tech, and the story there is that Sega rejected it because they felt that there were some tech issues by their Japanese engineers, which I guess SGI later fixed, whatever that means. I don't know what the tech issues were. Nintendo disputes that, saying Sega demanded exclusive rights to the tech, and Nintendo was more open to saying there's not exclusive. So I'm sure, as anything, like the truth is a little bit in between some of there. I'm sure
that sounds about right for Sega, though.
Yeah, Sega's like, nah, it's a little bit too complex, and then they're also like, well, we want the exclusive rights. So I don't know. I'd imagine it's maybe a bit of both, and it's also could be like maybe the engineers said it's problematic so that they could get out of any talks of it. I don't know, but I feel like there's a little bit of truth between the both of them there. So Nintendo would kind of work closer to SGI. And they announced the code name Ultra 64, which I'm sure you guys remember. Like, this was like everywhere when we were kids.
Yeah.
Yep.
There was like a huge hype machine behind this from magazines. I feel like every magazine cover I saw said Nintendo Ultra 64, usually with like Cinder from Killer Instinct or some other like clearly not Nintendo 64 looking character on this.
Didn't they get like the narrator from Killer Instinct to also announce it?
Yeah,
like the Nintendo
he was like,
Ultra 64.
Yeah, because you could hear Ultra in Killer Instinct,
Yeah.
so it makes sense that he wanted something to have that kind of weight, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But it's I remember just wanting to pre-order the Ultra 64. It's like, what's the Ultra 64? And they show all these. I think they're bull shots now because like graphics back then they looked amazing in these screenshots they showed, but I'm sure they were concept shots that they portrayed as in-game shots.
I'd want to go back and look at some of the old original ones because the only thing that really sold me on it was anything they showed about Mario 64.
Yeah.
I didn't care about any other game that they could have potentially been lying about. Like Mario 64 looked legit from the start.
Definitely the hype machine for me was Mario 64. Anytime I saw a screenshot of that, I just wanted to know more about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was so let's see. So this was the first 64-bit console. Like this is the actual first 64-bit console because the Jaguar was saying how it's a 64-bit console, and that was in the early 90s, which was technically true in a sense. There's like a heavy asterisk there because they actually had two 32-bit processors that you could say are 64-bit, but N64 had the first actual 64-bit processor. This was also controversial at the time because Nintendo decided to go with the cartridge format despite CDs really becoming the norm. Again, like Saturn was coming out in 94, 95, PS1 was coming out in 95, and those are both CD-based systems. And again, like the Sega CD was CD-based for a reason. Sega might have been a little bit too early to the game with a CD-based system in like 91, I think it was. But by 95, 94, when N64 was going to release, like everything was shifting towards CD because it was cheaper. You have more capacity. You have better sound. Like it's just a more sensible format to use for game development. And Nintendo's like, no, we think that the enhancements and the advantages of the cartridge format, most namely like no load times, are going to be worthwhile. But cartridges are also more expensive. They take longer to produce. So that's why I feel like they're taking the safe bet because Nintendo was most familiar with cartridges. But ultimately, I think it didn't work out. Like it was definitely the last cartridge-based system for a reason, right? They also announced a licensing agreement with Williams and Midway that also have them publish Ultra 64 branded arcade games like Killer Instinct and Cruis'n USA, which I didn't realize those were technically published by Williams and Midway. I thought those were Nintendo published because they had Rare, so I assumed that was just them publishing in the arcade space. But I guess they needed someone who was experienced with arcades to do that. So I remember that being a thing. At the time, like seeing the Killer Instinct arcade and like that thing was loud as hell back then too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys ever get to experience that back then, but that was like one of the biggest arcades at the time. It was just interesting because Nintendo was in the arcade space, which really wasn't a common thing at the time. And the original release of the N64 was supposed to be Christmas of 1995. I do remember this getting delayed quite a bit. I feel like every time I was looking at a magazine and circling what I wanted, it was like, this thing's never coming out. When is this thing coming out? And the delays were partially because of, chip issues. And also they wanted to time it with the release of some games that need more time to be in the developments. So it's like Mario 64 and Pilot Wings are going to be the two launch games. And they felt like those weren't ready yet, so they need more development time, which I'm always in favor of. I don't know about you guys, but anytime there's a delay, I'm like, good. Take your time, make the game what it is, what it needs to be. Don't just shoot this out the door because everyone will pay. And this is well before the internet where you couldn't patch these things. So if they release a half-baked game, you got a half-baked game on a cartridge until they released a revision, which was usually like a light revision. And ultimately, this was later released finally on September, 29th, 1996. And this was June 96 in Japan. And then Europe got it in March 97. The original launch price was $200, which is about $611 and $25, which is quite a bit, right? Like we talk about consoles now and... some have gone up, like the Series X went up to $600 for whatever stupid reason. And really comparatively, of course, with inflation, it's about the same price, which I guess it makes sense. $200 was a lot of money back then. And then ultimately, the N64 sold about 32.9 million consoles. The large share of that was in the U.S. It sold about 20.6 million, and then 5.5 million in Japan, 6.75 between Europe and Australia.
Was that just for launch or lifetime?
Lifetime.
God,
it
dang.
only sold 32 million over its lifetime. So,
but I mean, so few in Japan.
That's why I'm most surprised, because they actually had probably more games in their library, and yet it still sold, very few compared to the U.S. I didn't really expect that the U.S. was going to be more favored towards the N64. And the reason I put this for context is because the PS1, which was really, this is when Sony pulled ahead, and I don't even say pulled ahead because no one thought Sony would do well, because this is their first console, and really they revolutionized consoles because we're on the PS5, and the PS1 was such a big hit at the time that, for comparison's sake, it sold 102 million consoles with a $300 launch price in 1995. So, the PS1 sold 3 times as many N64s. The game libraries, for fun, I took them here. The N64 has 296 games that were released in the US, and there's about 388 total worldwide, because obviously Japan and Europe might have a few different versions, right? And the 64DD isn't included, which we'll talk a little bit about in a second here. And the PS1 library, for comparison, there was what I took here. There was 1,278 games in North America alone, and over 4,000 worldwide. So 400 compared to 4,000. It's a massive difference in the library here. So that's why I think it's always fun to kind of think about how things would have been if we had the Nintendo PlayStation, not the Sony PlayStation, against the Nintendo 64.
Yep.
So really what's interesting about this is that despite the game library not being huge, we still have a ton of classics in here, a lot of timeless games. So I think it'll be a really fun list to go through. And also for fun, the final licensed game in North America was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3.
Oh.
It was released in August 2002, so that's kind of a cool game to end on. Top 10 games I want to get into here for lifetime sales before we get into our top 10. So Mario 64 is at number 1. Mario Kart 64 is at 2. GoldenEye is number 3. Ocarina of Time is 4. Super Smash Bros. Is number 5. Pokemon Stadium is number 6. Donkey Kong 64 is number 7. Diddy Kong Racing, number 8. Star Fox 64 at 9. And Banjo-Kazooie at number 10. And just for context, Mario 64 sold 11 million copies. So nowadays,
and not packaged in with the system.
Not exactly. In the beginning, it was not packaged in. Like, you just got a core 64 system with one controller. You didn't get 2. Yeah. So just that top 10 sales. I mean, those are. I think those are like, those 10 games are on anyone's list for the top 10s. Not on all ours, but any person you gas off the street, top 10 games, you'll probably get a similar list to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we get into the top 10 games, I guess we could talk about a few things that the Nintendo 64 had. Like the 4-player support, that was really the big thing I think that drew most of us. We kind of talked about it early in the episode. Like 4-player was not a common thing at the time. Like we got 2-player at best. We might have a multi-tap on Super Nintendo and play some games there, but that was like a limited experience because we had like... Did we play Looney Tunes B-Ball 4-player? Did we get to try that?
No. Surprisingly, we always loved that game, and we never... Nobody we knew really had a multi-tap at the time.
I know we played Bomberman. One of our friends, Mervin, had a multi-tap.
Yeah.
I think we played like 3 or 4 games back then. But this was like the coolest thing ever. Granted, like it sucked when I got my N64, I only had one controller for like a month. So do something we're swapping back and forth on Mario Kart. But if all your friends had a controller they could bring over, like this was like the best time you could possibly have on any system at the time.
An innovation for them too was all the different colors that it came in.
I love that. That was transparent gimmicks.
A big thing, not even transparent, but like the solid colors, just...
Oh yeah, for the controls themselves.
Yeah, just options. That was a big thing in the 90s, or starting in the 90s, and it really allowed people to have like different personal touches to it. I had a friend who had a yellow controller. I started out with blue. Mm-hmm. You started out with black because... Yeah.
It makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, I do remember that. That was like, it was almost like your signature in a sense. Like what color were you bringing over? Like you knew what buddy it belonged to. Too. Yeah. Some of the cool peripherals I wanted to bring up. So there's, this was the first instance of using memory cards. Granted, not many games I recall use it too much because not everything, but a lot of games had battery backups. So it's like, we really use it for like Mario Kart Ghosts. Some games like Hexen really relied on it to save progress, so we didn't play those much. Yeah. Because some took like the entire memory card, which was unfortunate. Some of the cooler ones were the 4 megabyte expansion pack, which I would argue how much this thing works because, there's a lot of videos on YouTube that kind of go through about what this thing does. And the N64, it's weird. This is like the sort of hardware upgrade you could attach to your 64. I think it was like $25 or $30. And the idea is that it would be and it would increase your RAM and thus make some games run better, some games look better, some games had graphical options based on the expansion pack.
Some games wouldn't run at all.
Yeah, some games like Donkey Kong 64 wouldn't run at all, or games like Perfect Dark would be literally 1/3 of the experience without the expansion pack. Like you could only play limited multiplayer, and I don't even think you play single player without the expansion pack, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Did we do a full episode on Perfect Dark before? I don't think we have.
No,
huh?
not yet.
I think we have to do that at some point.
But we did when we did the Turok episode and we were playing some. We went back to like Rage Wars and things. And that looks like garbage without the expansion.
It does. That game is a mess.
Yeah.
One of the cooler additions they had was the transfer pack. Again, not many games use this, but this was something you attached to the back of the controller, and some games had functionality. Most notably was Pokemon Stadium, where you could take your Pokemon Blue, Red, or Yellow, and you could then take your Pokemon from those games and put them in 3D and battle them against the other trainers in Stadium. So
that was mind blowing at the time.
To me, that was like the coolest thing ever. Like I got that for Christmas. That was like the one thing I asked for. I mean, I got a few other things, but I was like, I need the expansion pack because I was totally into transfer pack. Excuse me, because I was totally into Pokemon Blue at the time. I was like, I really want to see what they look like in 3D. Like they look like N64 graphics, right? Yeah. One of the other features that got killed later on that I remember Deuce and I reading in Nintendo Power was for Perfect Dark, they were going to allow you to use your Game Boy camera and put your face on the characters in there. But Columbine happened, I think, a year before or during the development of Perfect Dark and before it came out. So Nintendo was like, maybe it's not such a good idea to take photos of your friends or, God forbid, people you don't like and paste them on these characters in N64 and multiplayer and shoot them. So it's an interesting feature. I think that would have been a really cool idea. It's just unfortunate that transfer pack, much like most accessories on the N64, were kind of limited in their use. Like they had more marketing value than they did practical value.
Yeah, it wasn't a necessity for anything, luckily, because not a whole lot of people got it. But I do remember in Mario Golf and Mario Tennis, like the Game Boy versions were these RPGs where you could build up a character and give them great stats, and then you could transfer them over to the N64
That's
versions.
right. I forgot you could do it because I would take the Mario Tennis character I had and bring him in there. Yeah, you can almost level them up all the same. Yeah, so there's cool function like that. Like this is at a point when I think, especially consoles and even just some tech in the world at the time in the late 90s was trying to do this interplay and interoperability with other devices. Like the PlayStation had the Pocket Station, which was like a Tamagotchi kind of gimmick. Dreamcast had the VMU, right, where you could have different mini games on the VMU, like or stats and whatnot. So I thought the transfer pack was really cool for what it did, even though I really used it for Pokemon Stadium and nothing else. But again, like that was just a cool addition to have. It was like another $25-$30. Something I'll touch on real quick here is the 64 DD. Did you guys?
So I was going to actually bring that up. So go ahead and I have a comment just about something that.
So this system was supposed to be released in the U.S. and it was a literal disk drive add-on for the N64. It would sit on the bottom of it. It was released only in Japan. There's only a handful of games that came out. I don't think there was many, but I will tell you the one reason I wanted this back then was because F-Zero X had a track builder on the 64 DD, and granted, like, I would have not cared for the 64 DD at all. I think Ocarina of Time also had like a special quest that you could play on there, like as sort of a, what do they call that? Master Quest? Yeah. I think it had some version like that. There's like Doshin the Giant. There's a bunch of random 64 DD games, but unfortunately...
There was going to be like a Mario Paint 2.
That's right. That was supposed to be on there. I think, there's supposed to be a mouse attachment as well, but the 64 DD didn't sell well, so thus they didn't realize, they figured it wasn't worth releasing in the US, and it just kind of quietly died in Japan, where I'm sure, I don't know how expensive it is now, but it'd be kind of a cool relic to have, at least to see what it looks like.
So wasn't technically the sequel for Mario 64, quote unquote Mario 128, wasn't it going to be, it was supposed to come out for the disc drive?
I believe so, because I think that was the thing, is they were really hanging, probably like the Super Nintendo and how the N64 can be, right? It's like, they want something that would add more value to the N64 without sort of breaking the bank or making a whole brand new system. And it obviously failed because I think by this time, like, again, 32X was dead by then. Saturn was not doing well in the US. It was doing all right, or I guess well in Japan. So I think people were just over add-ons at this point. It's either give me a new console or nothing else. And also there's like the Game Boy Pocket, which was a marginal update to the Game Boy. Game Boy Color was coming out, which was really just a colorized Game Boy. There's nothing really special about that, despite how great it was, right? But I think people were just done with add-ons, and it just, it was just dead in the water.
Going back to what you were talking about, the photo through the Game Boy camera, the disc drive in Japan does have, like, I can't remember the name of it. It's like Mario Photo or something.
That's right, yeah. It has an editor kind of thing.
Yeah, you can upload your photos and make a Mario-ish.
Yeah. So I think it's a cool novelty, but as far as like an actual console you want to play games on, it seems like it's not worthwhile.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So I think that's a good enough history for the N64. So let's start going through our top 10. We'll go through 10 through 2, and we'll talk about some honorable mentions and some dishonorable mentions. And we'll ultimately get to our number 1, and then we'll culminate to sort of this aggregate, which we'll quickly go through, I guess, 16. But it's really a top 10 we're really more focused on. But really, so our individual top 10s are that. They're individual top 10s. So there's going to be things that you may not agree with. There's things that may not be on this list. But I think we have a pretty badass list. So who would like to start? You want to start, Vito? You want to go to your number 10 first?
Sure. So my number 10 is Star Wars Shadows of the Empire.
Good choice.
Yeah.
I really love this game. I almost put this on mine, but I had to nudge it out.
Yeah, and it was the first 64 game I owned, and back then, I mean, you guys did an episode on this, so I'm probably repeating some information, but...
Let it go, because not everyone will have heard that back. That was episode 5. That was 60 episodes ago.
But that was the time, where we didn't have really any new Star Wars content. It was like 2 years before the first prequel movie came out. So as kids and Star Wars fans, we were desperate for new Star Wars anything, right? And Star Wars Shadows of the Empire was this multimedia project where there was a book, and I think a comic and toys, and what was really cool about it is it was between Empire and Return of the Jedi, so you got that period in between where it was a whole new story. You played as a Han Solo-like character. You got to fight in the Battle of Hoth, which was really cool. And also, you got to fight Boba Fett in the Slave One, which I thought was great.
It was an annoying boss fight.
It
That's
was.
arguably the worst boss fight in the game. Even though the spectacle of it is amazing.
Yeah.
And just because he appears, but that boss fight is amazing.
You were like, this is cool, this is bad, this is cool.
Yeah. It was definitely a little bit of a roller coaster. What was also cool about it, there's gameplay variety. There's like a speeder speeder bike level. There's the snow speeder level. There's
the space flying.
Different bosses. The giant Diagnoa, like I said, Boba Fett. There's like Wampas running around.
Jetpack. Yeah, this is a pure Star Wars game of the early, I guess mid '90s at this point.
Right,
yeah.
right. And I had a kind of a quick story that how I ended up with this game is my mom, like as a kid, and this is surprising. Growing up in an Italian family, I wouldn't eat garlic. So my mom, when I was a kid, when I was in 6th grade. So
how are you not disowned?
I think it was close. My mom's like, hey, I'll literally buy you a 64 game if you eat a whole clove of garlic.
Holy!
That would have been easy for me. I would have been eating those every day.
So I ate the whole clove. I was miserable. So I went to Software Etc. and got this game. And on the way home, we were driving there. I forgot the name of the street, by Jocelyn Canyon Road in Monterey, and there's a church there. And there's all these paparazzi outside. And my mom is like, what is going on? And she's like, I'm going to pull over. So we pull over. We get out. We're like in the bushes with the paparazzi. And my mom's like, what are you guys doing? They're like, oh, Brooke Shields is marrying Andre Agassi right there. And we're all taking
I didn't even
pictures.
know they were getting married.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah. So I literally saw, while waiting to go home and play this game, I saw Andre Agassi walk into the church, and I saw Brooke Shields in her wedding dress walk into the church, and I was miserable the whole time because I just wanted to go home and play this damn game.
Did this really happen? Or you were like a sort of garlic hallucinogen or something?
I'm fairly certain it really happened, but I wouldn't put it past myself at the time. But yeah, it's a great game, and I have that memory to go along with it, and I still every once in a while will go back and play it because it's a classic in my opinion. It really is.
I'm glad you put this on your list because I really want to, because when we did the episode way back, I really loved playing through it. Like the last boss sucks.
Yeah.
It has its flaws from '96 or whatever, but it is such a fun playthrough despite the issues I have with it. It just reminds me so much of that time, and it's really good.
Yeah, it introduced me to the concept of canon in universes and stuff, because up until that point, like you said, we didn't have prequel movies. We only had the original trilogy, and I was not paying attention to the novels that were in bookstores. So when this came out and they said, it actually takes place between the movies and things that are happening are referencing the movies, I was like, whoa, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I want to play that.
It's a really fantastic concept, and it's definitely, I'd say it's a top N64 game. It's not my top 10, but it's definitely like top 15 at minimum.
Yep.
Easily. Deucey, you're number 10.
My number 10 comes in just squeaking into the last spot, and that is Donkey Kong 64.
I love this game.
I just, like we've talked about it before, we had a whole episode on it during our Donkey Kong extravaganza.
That's right. Yeah, we had the whole run of Donkey Kong Country 1 through 64.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this one, it was just so fun. You look at it now and you're like, wow, what a what a crazy fetch quest and all of those items to collect. But this came out at just the right time to where we didn't care. We were like, this is the only new game that we have. We're waiting for another holiday to get something else. So we have plenty of time to sit down and play through it all like 5 different times with 5 different monkeys.
And plus, it was just fun to do. Like, I think it's easy for people to dismiss and say, yeah, it's tedious because there's literally 3,200 collectibles, whatever we tallied up in that episode, right? Like that, if you want to go for 101%, there's literally that many. But I enjoyed every minute of that. Like, yeah, it's monotonous and whatever. But now it's like if I was to do that, it'd probably be on the Switch. I have some on the TV, right?
Yeah.
But back then we were just, glued to our CRTs collecting 3,200 items, and we enjoyed every second of it.
And it helped that it was really well done. I mean, it's Rare and one of their peak games. And so despite like some of the flaws with it, it was still controlled really tight. It had plenty of homages to the Donkey Kong Country series. And yeah, you just wanted to see where it went next. You didn't care about like having to backtrack. You could figure out the warp pads. You could have a strategy guide next to you telling you which banana to get next. So
that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
I bought the Guy Electronics Boutique with a trade-in. Yep, for that reason.
Even this was one that even my mom got into and got almost 100% on it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really fantastic game. I think maybe people are turning more to it now, but those criticisms are valid as far as all the collectibles, but it's such a fun game. It's a real gem for me. My number 10 is F-Zero X. I had to put this on here because I really love the series, and this, granted, like F-Zero GX is probably my favorite out of the entire series. But when I got F-Zero X on the N64, I was really blown away by how fast it was. Like the sense of speed. I was playing this even before we recorded this like a couple nights ago, and I was like, holy crap! Like this game still feels as fast as it felt like back then. And I guess like you could say like the graphics aren't really mind blowing, right? They're kind of basic, but I'm fine with that because all the tracks, there's a lot of fog, but the tracks are really well made. There's a lot of undulations, a lot of verticality. There's crazy tunnels and whatnot, but the sense of speed in here is just unlike anything else. And there's 30 erasers on the screen at once, and it never falters. And it even holds up with 4-player. Like I remember we played this a little bit then, which was really hard because you had, a quarter of a screen.
Yeah.
But this game was just so freaking fun. There's a ton of tracks. The music is really phenomenal. Like the menus are kind of basic, but whatever. But this is like just pure arcade fun. This is exactly the type of racing game that I love. And it's easily something that I was like, if I'm going to top 10, like it's at least number 10 on my list.
This is, I mean, I'd played the Super Nintendo version off and on here and there, but I didn't really get into that one because it was a lot tougher than, say, Mario Kart at the time.
Yeah.
But this is definitely the one, even though I didn't own it, that got me into the F-Zero mood. And anytime another F-Zero game came out, I wanted to play that because of this one.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal game. And if you have the Switch Online app or, of course, there's emulation, definitely play it because I used to say the graphics aren't even that simple. Like they just don't look as ambitious as you'd expect, but it's fine. Like it's just a racing game and it has good track variety, and
they are what they need to be to keep it at like 60 frames and 30 cars and everything.
Yeah, very few N64 games even come close to running at 60 frames. So the fact that they got this running consistently is kind of a miracle in my eyes. Vito, you're number 9.
All right, my number 9, it's probably a little bit of a cop-out, but I have 2 games on here.
I say that too sometimes. Like, would I cheat on my list? I forgot what it was, but I forgot what it was recently.
Oh, yeah.
But it's fine. We're allowed to do cop-outs
okay,
here.
this is only one,
fine.
so...
There's no rules here. You're good.
So I have...
I would have done the same thing.
I have WCW, NWO Revenge, and No Mercy.
Yes.
The reason why I have both is because objectively, No Mercy is probably a better game. There's a whole branching stories and a lot, just a lot of... there's like a shop, and I can't remember this creator wrestler in that one.
There is, because we create all our actually me, Deucey, and our friends and my brother are still on my carts.
Yeah.
But I think I like Revenge more because of a story that goes along with it, but also because it has a lot of the like classic wrestlers in there, like Hogan and Macho Man and Sting, and it doesn't have Ric Flair. But what made that game have such a lasting impression for me is I believe it was the first wrestling game that actually had real life arenas.
It did include, yes, from the WCW pay-per-views, like Halloween Havoc and whatnot, yeah.
I really liked the Nitro one because it was exactly like TV and it said TNT on there. It was really cool, and it had a lot of wrestlers. You could switch their, clothing. I think even Hogan had his like yellow and red as
because they had alternate tires that just, sort of out of the box, so to speak, and then you could edit their names and costumes, which...
Right.
commonplace now, but amazing back then because if you wanted to, let's say a wrestler got a new look, you could technically edit that if you wanted to. And that's No Mercy expanded that even further.
Right. And so basically because it had the editing of the wrestler, it was kind of like a creative wrestler because your last wrestler could be someone else. Like you can make it whoever you want, really. But also it had different match types and things that I think was more varied than World Tour, which was the game before that. But also, I mean, this game... I'll never forget, I was in Sicily visiting my grandma and my aunt, and I wanted to buy something over there, and we didn't have room for it in the luggage. And my dad's like, okay, well, we can't get this, but he's like, I'll tell you what, when we get back, you could buy, he knew the game title. He's like, you could buy Revenge. I know you've been wanting it, and I'll get it for you. You don't have to waste your money. So because of that, like, I just have like that nostalgia memory with that game. And I still have that cart to this day. But it's just those reasons why I think Revenge is, in my personal opinion, better. But I know No Mercy is objectively, like, overall probably a better wrestling game.
It's funny because I'd say most people who've played all the wrestling games on N64, they usually will say the same thing where they'll hop between Revenge and No Mercy. But really, you can't go wrong with either of them. Because some people will argue, like, yeah, more nostalgia for Revenge, or maybe it's the better playing game, which you could argue about. But I'd say for the same reasons, you could totally put Revenge above No Mercy.
Right, right. You can't go wrong with either.
I see the reason it's tied on here is because if you think about it, like, Revenge is the peak for WCW games.
Yeah.
And No Mercy is the peak for WWF games.
Exactly. And really, when you come down to it and you distill it to its purest form, like, they're really the same game.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
It's just one just has a different roster. It's all it is. Like, they're really the same engine, same everything. It's just, one company has a license versus the other.
Yeah.
All right, Ducey, hit us with your number 9 here.
So my number 9 comes on, and it had to go on my list. It is Star Fox 64. Because I never owned this game, but I had just as much fun playing it as I did the rest of the other 8 on this list, So I borrowed it all the time from you, and I really enjoyed the original Star Fox on Super Nintendo, but that one was hard as hell. Like, I could only do the easy path on that one.
It's funny because this game it's a remake, technically, of the Super Nintendo one, and I'm in the same boat with you where I love the Super Nintendo one, but this is just better in every single way. This is the game that I wish the first game was.
I'm glad that it was a remake. For a long time there, I thought it was like some sort of weird sequel or maybe a prequel or something, but I'm glad it was a remake because it really added to the story. It added the whole father-son aspect, and I just enjoyed how much I could replay it. I could do 2 or 3 go-throughs in one sitting. I would choose on purpose the different directions I wanted to go. I could do like an easy path, jump to a hard path, back to a medium path, and I would just do it over and over again to see the different like kill totals I could get, or I would go through on everybody's copies that I would borrow, and I would get them medals for.
I do remember that.
Yeah,
quite a few on mine. Yeah, and that was also the cool thing too, to discover the different ways to open pathways. Like, it's using some sort of, like, I remember in the first level, you had to fly under the little archways to unlock a level. And then, like, in level 2, I think it was Sector Y. Sector Y, you had to get, like, 164 hits or something like that, so you could go to Aquas.
Yep.
And that was part of the fun, too, was just discovering how to fulfill certain criteria to get through the game on the hardest path and ultimately get the best ending, quote-unquote. And also see James McLeod, which I thought was cool.
Yep, and then you get all the medals, you unlock his cool shades. And I just love the additions to this game, too, because it was a lot of stuff that was going to be in Star Fox 2, and they said, let's put it into this next one, like the all-range mode for the boss battles, and then also into the multiplayer. The multiplayer was kind of basic, but I'm glad it was there. We had some fun out of it.
We did, and the biggest thing too, I should mention with this game too, was this was the introduction of the Rumble Pack, which was, for better or worse, one of the coolest features about this game, because you really did feel the rumbling, especially when I forgot what planet would explode. Maybe it was
well, there was when you were in the tank and you were fighting the train, and then the train went into that building.
Right. Yeah.
God, that thing just... And rumble is a loose definition of the term because it was just a high-powered vibration.
It was. Art really weighted on one side of the controller because it was parked to the back, so like, your hands would be at the bottom side with a stick, and you feel this thing like jolting all over your hands, like, oh.
Yeah. It would just make your hand kind of tingly after a while.
Yeah. So that was definitely one thing that, it was a little bit... I'd say like it added a little bit extra immersion to it. Like it was a great novelty for what it was, but also it was like the coolest thing to have on your controller, and added a little bit more weight to it too.
And now it's weird to think like games just started including them in the controllers. It was kind of a pioneer in that way.
It was, yeah, because even Sony later did it with like the DualShock. Right?
Yep.
Later on after the Rumble Pack, yeah. My number 9 is Donkey Kong 64. We already kind of went into it with Ducey's pick, and for me this was a big thing because I mentioned this story before where I was about to buy $80 in Pokemon booster packs at Kmart, and my mom's like, "The hell you are!"
Yeah,
and she actually convinced me to buy this game. I'm glad she did because I really love this game. It's, you know, we've gone through its issues with it being collectathon with 3,200 collectibles and whatnot, but I didn't care. As a kid, as a 14-year-old, around Christmas time, I was fully invested once I got the guide to find every collectible, get 101%. It took me like 36, 38 hours. And, you know, frankly, it didn't really feel that way. Like, it was tedious to go through with each character. But this was the biggest game Rare had made. And it's one of my favorites they've ever done. And I really wish we would get a re-release at some point.
and it came with the expansion pack, like Star Fox came with the Rumble.
That's right. Yeah. So, and eventually I had 2 because I think I got the expansion pack right before this for like Rogue Squadron or something.
Oh, yeah.
So I had 2 of these stupid things. Yeah. All right, Vito, your number 8.
So my number 8, I know it's on your guys' list, maybe even a little bit higher. It's Perfect Dark.
Yeah, this is my number 8 as well, Vito. You and I are in the same thought here.
Too low.
I wouldn't even be mad. You're probably right. It's too low, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it's good that it's on here because we did get some unfortunate news this week with Microsoft canceling the reboot.
Such
and
bullshit.
killing the studio.
Yeah,
It's not
killing
even
the
bad
studio.
enough they killed the game. They killed the studio in addition to it.
Yeah, so this franchise is probably dead unless somebody
I think
comes
it's
in.
done for
yeah,
now.
Yeah,
Good luck.
But, you know, it's Rare basically taking everything they learned from GoldenEye and I don't know if making it better is the right word, but making it better.
I would say expanding. Like they really, like I said, they bit into their ambitions with this, and they really had some really awesome, innovative ideas, some really unique weapons, unique levels. Like this is really just an expansion on GoldenEye with the free form and not having to have a deal with like a license or anything like that.
Yeah, because I mean the license holder at the time for Bond, Danjak, they were notoriously protective of that license. So this new franchise allowed Rare to basically just do whatever they want, and they made this really great sci-fi cyberpunk game with aliens and futuristic weapons and different weapon modes and just
They even predicted Obama before Obama.
You got like 8 years before.
Yeah.
and just you know a great multiplayer mode. Obviously, you know that it was interesting is you couldn't really access a single player unless you had the expansion pack. But yeah, it was just a really fun time. I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I put this at number 8 for pretty much the same reasons, and really the biggest draw for me. The single player was great because you had a lot of agency to do what you wanted because of the weapons and their secondary fires, and you know, like the laptop gun was a notable one.
I'd say the levels were a little more open than even GoldenEye.
I would say they were for sure, and they were definitely. You know, they definitely have more of an atmosphere than GoldenEye 2, but again,
Yeah.
I think that's really because they weren't so confined to the license. Like this was really Rare, allowed to be free with what they wanted to do.
And I mean, it's not even a bad thing in GoldenEye because they were so accurate to the movie,
Exactly,
which is insane.
Yeah, it's not a criticism at all. It's
Yeah.
really just two sides of the same coin here,
Yeah.
more or less, right? Yeah.
And then once this one came out, we kind of stopped playing GoldenEye because the multiplayer added so much when it came to weapons and when it came to bots.
Well, we had like infinite playlists we could make, like play modes. Like, you know, we'd have like where we said like cannon fodder. We put simulants on the lowest difficulty, or you know, we want to put them on the highest to really feel like we're just getting pulverized and everything. And you know, different. You could modify the weapons and the spawns and everything. Like it was such an amazing console shooter with all the options. It's really good. Like arguably, I could say this probably should be higher, Ducey. I think you're right, but I know one of us. Well, actually, Ducey will have it higher in the list because me and Vito put it at number 8.
Yeah.
But Ducey, go ahead with your number 8 at this point.
My number 8, I'll keep it in the Rare family, and I will say it is Diddy Kong Racing.
Yeah, a fantastic racing game and a fantastic choice.
And back then, I mean, it was my third ever N64 game, and back then I was really focused mostly on Mario Kart, Super Mario Kart, Mario Kart 64, or I liked some sim racing games, a lot of NASCAR and stuff like that. But
Probably Gran Turismo at this point too.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
But this one was just mind-blowing because it took what Mario Kart and Mario 64 did and just jammed them together, and now you have an adventure mode in a racing game. Probably the first to do it, I would say.
The first that I can recall that really had this format that was really well realized too, because like you said, like it wasn't so much like, the hub world actually was like a hub world. Like you couldn't get past certain points unless you collect enough balloons and won enough races. So it definitely had a loop of like, you have to reach a certain point before you could progress.
And they did a good job of implementing like multiple races at the same track. So you would go back and you'd have to collect the silver coins, or you'd have to do it in a mirror mode. There were 2 final bosses, so you could get like a midpoint ending and a true ending. And then there was the innovation of multiple different types of vehicles. They really tried to advertise it mostly on that. I don't remember too much about like them saying, "Hey, look at this adventure mode." They were really like plane versus car versus hovercraft.
It's like play with your buddies, and there's you can mix and match all the cars.
Yeah. Which we did a little bit. I think we played the multiplayer an okay amount of this, but every once in a while we would just be like, okay, that was fun. Let's go back to like a faster paced Mario Kart.
Yeah, I would say so. I didn't put this on my top 10. Just spoiler, like this was an honorable mention for me because of that. Where I even mentioned on the episode when we recorded, where I feel like this was primarily a single player game more than anything else, which isn't a bad thing. But the multiplayer just wasn't nearly as fun as Mario Kart, and I feel like maybe it's because of the sense of speed and the tracks. Like the tracks are really nice, but they're also kind of short. Like it's not really the variety Mario Kart had, right?
Like look at the very first track.
It's just like a circle.
It's like a circle. It's like a NASCAR track.
Yeah, so that's the only reason I really didn't put on my top 10, but I still love this game, especially because of the single player alone. Like like you said, it had the multiple carts, it had boss fights, quote unquote, which was a really cool thing in a car racing game, right? So I loved it as a single player game, but as far as like the totality of it, I couldn't put it on my top 10 for that.
I mean, I almost forgot about putting it on my list, but I said it had to go on here because I was heavy into single player games.
I was hoping you would, because I feel like this is the Deucey game to put on your top 10.
Yeah.
All right, Vito, we'll roll back to you and your number 7 choice.
So
that actually shocked me as it might have shocked Deucey.
Mm-hmm. And it's not. I think it's a good game. I don't think it's a bad game.
No, it's just one that isn't.
Not everyone's going to have it.
It
on
surprised us, and at the same time, knowing Vito, it doesn't surprise us.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's not surprising this one's on my list. It's Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine. This game was a Blockbuster exclusive. You could either only rent it or purchase it through Blockbuster or through the LucasArts website. And because of that, it's become exceedingly rare. I think it's like $100 just for the cart now on this one.
Between 8 and 100, I think, at least.
But it's. I think you also have to have the expansion pack to play it.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh wow, I don't remember that.
Mm-hmm. It's fully voice acted. It's a big game. It's like 27 levels plus a secret level, which is a replay of the opening of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, that's cool.
It's basically the N64's Tomb Raider. It never got Tomb Raider, right? Its control scheme, you'd say, is similar to Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, where you use the C buttons for inventory.
Oh, that's cool.
I didn't know. So I didn't know that. Full disclosure, I've only played the PC version, which does not control like that. It controls way worse.
Yeah.
So, well, I need to get myself an N64
controls
copy.
like Tomb Raider.
Yeah. So no, not even Tomb Raider.
Oh my god,
that's the drawback to this game. Now, the controlling it kind of controls very.
It's
clunky.
Super stiff and clunky for sure.
And there's some precision platforming where you're like bash your head against a wall because you just can't make it because it's so stiff. But the variety in the levels, like they're big and open. You can sometimes drive a car or ride in a minecart. And the story's crazy. It has to do with the Babylonian god in another dimension. It's just really, really fun, and I urge people to check it out if you like. Even if you don't really know indie, but you like Tomb Raider, I think it's a good game to really check out. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I'd like to play this on N64 because it was, like you said, only a rental. Which it's funny. Like the N64 actually had a few games that were only rentals I can recall. There was this. There was Daikatana by John Romero, which is,
I didn't realize that was only a rental.
It's pretty wild. It was only a rental. It eventually was released in stores, but it started off as like a Blockbuster exclusive. And there's also Razor Freestyle Scooter, which I think was also a Blockbuster rental exclusive for whatever reason.
Wasn't there a Clay Fighter also? Like
yes, the rare
Cut.
one of the, I think it might be the rarest N64 game, Sculptor's Cut.
Yeah,
Clay Fighter 63 and the third Sculptor's Cut, which for a long time I thought I had because my brother bought it, but it wasn't. We had regular Clay Fighter 63 and the third. But Sculptor's Cut's like, I think the thing is like $700 or $800 just for the cart right now.
I think it's more.
Is it more?
It
might be like $1,200 then, right?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. And I know the completes are like thousands. It's nuts. Yeah. All right, Ducey, you're number 7. You want to talk too low?
I was gonna say
too Low.
Nah, this is definitely down here in the garbage pile.
Whoa. Whoa. Got to play Street Fighter after this. Those are some words.
My number 7, everybody take a drink, get ready for a spit take.
Take a deep breath.
Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Yeah. I'm just happy it's on your top 10.
Yeah. Disclaimer, I don't think it's garbage or anything like that. This is like an amazing Zelda game. It's probably in my top 2 or 3 for Zelda games alone. The only reason it dropped this low was because everything above it, I played just a ton more.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Like I always say that when we do this, it's like this game isn't bad. It's just everything else I put on this list is better for some reason or another.
And I mean, I even played this a ton. It's just I didn't replay it a lot. I played it a lot when it first came out. My mom got into it to like the detriment of the rest of the house. Like she would just be hooked on that, and then I couldn't play any of my games. But no, we both had a great time with it. It was just so fun. I think it was probably the first Zelda game I ever beat, like single-handedly.
Oh, that's interesting. I haven't Link to the Past them before.
That one I kept getting somewhere, but I didn't own it. I would borrow it from a friend, and I would get a certain distance, and then I'd have to give it back. But this one, I owned right away after renting it, and beat it with the help of a strategy guide. And I now replay it more often than I did back then. But yeah, it had to go down this low. It was on my list. I had to mention it. I do like it a lot more than Majora's Mask, but everything else I'm going to mention after this was just like on constant rotation.
It'll be a fun list because you'll keep our listeners in suspense saying like, well, if he put Ocarina of Time on here, what the hell is on his list?
And I don't want people to be listening and going, no, that's not better. It's like, it's not about better.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like your objectivity doesn't really matter here because I can make a case for why I would put games on my list. It's all the same. It's really just preferences. That's with anything. Like just like someone's put this at number 1 and be like, yeah, that should be number 1. That's cool, right? Yeah.
In fact, this inspired me to say one of our episodes should be just a list of nothing but Zelda games.
Oh, I would love. Yeah. Well, we could do like a ranker like we've done before.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool. Even though I have to play through some of them.
Yeah,
yeah, that'd be a fun episode for sure. Yeah. My number 7 is one we talked about already before too. It's Star Fox 64. I put this in my on 7 because I remember getting this for my birthday. Like my dad had asked me what I wanted, and I remember again the big gimmick was the Rumble Pack, and I had to re-buy it later. But I do have the big old box with the Rumble Pack because it's just one of my favorite N64 boxes, right? But you really nailed why I love this game, Ducey, is because it looks gorgeous. It plays so well. Like it just controls so great. Like the R-Wing has so much agility for what it is. You still feel like you're totally in control of where you're going and what you're shooting at. Small changes like having a proper targeting reticle is a big deal. Like
I always forget that
we forget
Super
that
Nintendo didn't have that.
You're just like wildly firing in the air, hoping it would be somewhat accurate. I had a little lock-on gimmick with selecting enemies, which I feel like was something that was I think like Panzer Dragoon had that even before this, where you have like your rail shooter, because this is what that is, right? This game is basically a rail shooter, but it's a really well done one. There's tons of level variety, like I mentioned, the submarine and Aquas. You have the tank, the R-Tank, or whatever they called it. I forgot what level is with the lava.
Oh, you're on the solar. You're like flying through the sun.
Yeah, right. Which again, like that has such a cool effect where like the lava is like billowing towards the screen like this giant wave. So you have to avoid that because otherwise,
hit the brakes or something.
It does so much with so little. I mean, so little in the sense that like this game is really just it's on rails and it's just a shooter. It's not really more complex than that. But it does everything so freaking well that I feel like I had to put it at number 7, right where it sits. All right, Vito, you're number 6.
All right, my number 6, I'm actually surprised that you guys don't have it on your list.
Because I have things to say about this, actually. Because I'm even surprised you put on your list.
I have never played it.
You never played this?
We did the multiplayer, and that was about it.
Wow.
Yeah. I actually really love this game, and just about when I purchased it from EB Games right around this era because this came out as a later N64
It was
game.
one of the last ones.
Yeah.
2001.
And I got it for $20 brand new, and now card only it's another rare one. It's like over 100 for the cart, but it's Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Yeah.
I really love this game because it's basically Banjo-Kazooie but M-rated.
Oh yeah, adults.
For adults. I mean, you fight a giant pile of opera singing shit with corn for teeth. I mean, it's
Great Mighty Pooh. And
the Great Mighty Pooh, and it does a lot of pop culture parody. There's like Matrix and Dracula and Saving Private Ryan levels. There's also a fun multiplayer mode, which I have not as fun memories of, playing Perfect Dark or GoldenEye, especially, or Mario Kart.
Yeah, we got a few matches out of it too. Yeah,
a few matches in it. I just really, really just love this game, and part of the reason too is because it was an M-rated game, and I remember just trying to play it without my mom really hearing the stuff that was going on, because she would probably get mad at the time, for me having it. But I really always enjoyed it. I thought it was fun, and that's why it's number 6 on my list. Yeah,
I think it's a good choice. I didn't put on my list because I felt like this was a little bit more obtuse than the other Rare games. Like, it was kind of hard to know where to go because there's no. I'm not asking for markers, but there's times where, like, I remember when I rented this before I bought the rental copy, which I'm glad I did because it was like probably nothing back then. Now it's like you said, it's like $100 or whatever the hell it is. But there's times where I get stuck. I'm like, I have no idea where to go. Like, I have enough collectibles wherever the hell it is, and I just got stuck.
Yeah.
So I feel like I just didn't put enough time into this to enjoy it. But I actually like the remake a little bit better. That had some concessions as well. That was on Xbox.
Yeah.
But it's a good game. It's just not my top 10 kind of game.
This is a weird game that's sort of like, I would say, stuck in time, because like you said, it's Banjo-Kazooie for adults, but I don't think the humor is really for adults.
No, the humor now,
True,
it's like, I think it's funny, stupid toilet humor, which is exactly quite literally what it is. But it's, it's locked in a time capsule. It's like that 90s. Like, I think most people, if you're younger and play it now, you're like, oh, okay, I got a Saving Private Ryan reference. That's kind of funny. The Matrix?
Yeah.
Have I seen this? So I think it's kind of rooted in that too. Like, it's a little bit dated just because of that, but it's still a great platform. It's just not phenomenal for me.
It's Rare, and it was their last one, I think, on
it was,
on their N64.
Yeah.
Was it? Did they dial it back? Was it a collectathon still, or was it more like linear?
I don't remember.
It wasn't as heavy. It was nowhere near as heavy as Donkey Kong 64.
Okay.
So I think it was more just focused on character or Conquer as a character and all the jokes, right? So you probably weren't doing too much side stuff because they wanted you to focus on the meat of the game.
On the jokes.
Yeah. I do remember it being pretty. Because you said, you made a good point about you not knowing where to go, but pretty linear, I guess. Like you had to just figure out where you were supposed to go, and that was it. It
wasn't always clear. Yeah, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, that's one of the reasons why I didn't put in my top 10. Also because this was so late in the N64 life cycle that I did get it from Blockbuster used, but I was already so well invested in the PS2, which was already out by then. I'd gotten it by the time this came out. So this was like a secondary thought for me, really.
Yeah.
Has this come out to like the Switch Online, the mature Switch Online?
No, it has not.
Or that's surprising. And like, where can I play it? Like I said, I've never played it before. I want to try to give it a shot.
I don't even think Rare Replay has it, right? Because it's a Nintendo thing.
Dang.
Yeah. So I'd imagine, like, you probably can only play it on the OG Xbox or on an N64, which, you have to spend money on a cart for that.
Holy crap.
Or buy the Xbox one, which is probably like $30 or $40 at this point.
Yeah.
Well, so for my number 6, it's also fitting. We're going to stay in the Rare family.
I know we've had a lot of Rare just in these few entries here. Yeah.
I feel like I'm repeating myself with that, but this is one that I can replay over and over again. I can pick up and play. It's Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah, it's a great one.
The inspiration for Conquer. No, this one, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but the more I think about it, the more I realize it aged incredibly well.
I think so.
It was most people thought it was just sort of copying Mario 64, but I'd say it added to it, and for a while there I replayed it more often than Mario 64. Probably because I actually owned it. But you still required like a strategy guide to get through it quicker. It was starting to show the signs of Rare's collectathon-ness.
Well, this was really kind of the big, I don't want to say the beginning because they had Donkey Kong Country, but this was definitely like we're getting our feet firmly planted into collectibles.
Yeah. But I didn't mind it back then because it still seemed obtainable. It still seemed doable.
But also there was like so much variety in this too. Like there was the different kind of mini games, like when you're chomping at I forgot, like the little mole enemies and the holes and stuff, or trying to coerce like them to go into the holes, right? And there's stuff like with Kazooie where she has her own abilities, like you walk on her 2 feet, they go up paths you couldn't access.
You could fly.
Yeah, so I think it did it in lieu of having it be a collectathon. Like there was enough variety where you didn't mind it as much because I didn't own this for a long time either. I kept playing my friend's copy because I played at his house and he played at my house, and we loved this game. It was so freaking fun.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't even matter that there wasn't a multiplayer. I don't think there was a multiplayer in the first one. They might
No.
have crammed one into the second one for no real reason, but like we could go to each other's houses and still just play the single player and maybe trade off if not.
Yeah, like just get a honeycomb or a jiggy and
Yeah.
switch off. Yeah, that was definitely fun for sure.
And I really enjoyed the level variety and the music. Was this David Wise?
I'm sure it had to have been in this era. It had to have been. Yeah,
It was just amazing. It fit perfectly. As you transition through the levels, the music would just sort of transition with you, and yeah, it was just so well done.
Yeah, this is a wonderful whimsy. Like they really
Yeah.
went for whimsical, and it's just pitch perfect. It's
I'm
great.
also a big fan of what it inspired with like ukulele.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's a successor to it. Yeah. All right, my number 6, and I had a hard time putting this at number 6, frankly, because like I said, this was such a hard list, but I put it on here at number 6. It is Super Smash Brothers. I love fighting games, and one of the big reasons why I love Smash Brothers is because all my friends who hate playing fighting games with me can play Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
Great concept. It's just an amalgamation of like just Nintendo characters all fighting it out. Like you had Mario, Luigi, Link, Jigglypuff was even in here, Ness,
Yoshi.
Captain Falcon, Yoshi. So this was a totally insane idea because, as I understand it, this was really going to be just sort of a fighting game, but it's like just sort of, I'll call it a generic aesthetic. But Nintendo's side, kind of like Mario Kart, where they would add their own properties, and it blew up to its own series. That's still a big deal today. But Super Smash Bros. N64 was like the most simple, fun fighting game you could have. Like there was only a couple moves. Or like you had your A button, which is like your general attacks. Then you had like two special moves with B, because this is before forward B. It was up B and down B, and
and
neutral,
regular B. Yeah.
And it had all the levels that were themed after Nintendo games. Like there's a Metroid level, a Zelda level, all the items. This was just stupid, plain fun to have, and like anyone could get into it. Anyone who didn't know how to play fighting games get into it. Like our friends who, primarily playing probably racing games and first-person shooters got into this.
Yeah.
It was just an awesome time. So I almost kind of struggled putting it at number 6, but it's at number 6 on my list. All right, we're breaking into the top 5. So Vito, you're number 5.
Yeah, my number 5 we kind of already talked about a little bit. It's Star Fox 64.
Nice.
I didn't really play the NES or Super NES version of Star Fox. This was really my first experience with this.
Because you didn't have a Super Nintendo,
No,
right? That's right.
no.
I remember going to your house, we always played Nintendo. Yeah,
Yeah, I had
that's right.
Nintendo, Game Boy, Game Gear, and then straight to 64.
That's right.
Whoa.
Yeah, big jump.
You had a jump.
Big jump. So this is really the first time I got into it. I really, really loved it. I remember I got it as a kind of a gift after I had oral surgery, and I went home and I was in pain and kind of coming out of the anesthesia still, and I got it, and I remember just playing it and trying to figure out the branching paths, and I didn't have like internet or anything like that, and didn't have like a Nintendo Power to show me how to get there, so I was just figuring it out. And I remember when I figured out with the first level, if you flew underneath the 6
the archways,
that opened up the alternate path. And then getting to the hard path, I really like that underwater level. I think you fought like a giant clam.
Aquas,
yeah,
with the submarine.
yeah, and just fighting like Star Wolf, like DC was talking about, and just exploring it all, and then also doing the. I believe there was a multiplayer.
Yeah, we played
aspect to
multiplayer.
it. Yeah.
I won't say a ton, but we played it quite a bit because it was actually really fun to have dogfights in there. Like the control
Right.
made it so good.
Right.
I also like that mode where everybody was kind of on the team and you could shoot the alien ships.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
we would form up like the Blue Angels. We would just start doing formation
I
flying
remember
around
that.
the level.
There's also a mode too where you can lock them on feet.
Yeah.
which was really bizarre. Like I think Pepe had like a rocket launcher or something like that.
They
I don't
all-
know, it was really wild.
All the feet people had rocket launchers, but it was weird because you could climb up these buildings and the proportions didn't look
That's
right.
right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just a really, really good time, and I'm praying that Nintendo will give us a new Star Fox.
I hope so.
For Switch 2.
Yeah, I know Star Fox Zero wasn't very well received, but I feel like this is such an easy game to make again. For
Yeah.
God's sake, just make another rail shooter.
Yeah. Don't get fancy with some of the like on foot stuff that they did in the later
Yeah.
games. Just give us another shooter.
Pure
Yeah.
shooting bliss. Come
Yeah,
on.
yeah. Come on, Nintendo.
Yeah.
All right, dude. So you're number 5, which is I think this is a good spot for it too.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about where you placed your number 6 because it's right in that area, that
Yeah,
range.
yeah, it's in that range.
So my number 5, top 5 is Super Smash Brothers. For everything that you said, like anybody could pick up and play this, all age groups. At the time, we had a a varying age group of friends, and like even the youngest ones could just pick up and start mashing A.
Yeah, my brother would join us, and he was 4 years younger, and of course he would find the cheapest way to
of
kill
course.
it. Usually Yoshi. But yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's like it's so accessible.
He would just eat you and then jump off the edge.
Yep.
With you.
And then laugh.
Yes. But this quickly became my favorite fighting game and fighting series. Like, while you have Street Fighter, I was getting better at Smash Brothers. And I think it's just an amazing homage to Nintendo, even though it's weirdly so competitive. Like, there's like in Melee and stuff in the future games, they have these museums with the little statues.
That's right. Yeah,
and
the trophies,
all the history of the games and stuff. Like, there's things in there, Mock Rider in the later games where you don't play as it. It's not even an assist trophy, but it tells you the story about it, and it got me interested into going back to the NES and playing that.
That's a good point that I didn't even mention, but yeah, this series really is a celebration of Nintendo because they can get all these properties that would never interact with each other ever for any reason, and now they have an excuse to do it, and you get to learn about them. Yeah,
and then they started branching out into like Sonic joined, so you got the history of Sonic games for Nintendo kids that might not have grown up with a Sega. You could go back and listen to all the different Sonic songs that they would put into it and the levels. Then all of a sudden Snake comes in, and if you had an N64 and not a PlayStation, you were like, what is this Metal Gear we're talking about? And then now it just got crazy with the most recent
now they
one.
got Ken Ryu, which is mind-blowing to me, Terry from King of Fighters, they got Steve from Minecraft, Banjo and Kazooie from Banjo-Kazooie.
Joker from Persona.
It's wild. Cloud, excuse me.
Oh yeah,
like those. It's really wild. So yeah, you start from a roster. The N64 had like 8 plus 4 unlockables.
Yep.
And now they got like 90.
I do remember on the N64, I was always a big Luigi fan, and I was like, it sucks that I can't play with him right away, but it's kind of an honor to be an unlockable.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. They did get him in there. I would say we'll say that Kickstarter Luigi Mania. Was Super Smash Brothers. Yeah. All right, guys. My number 5. I had to put this in my top 5 because when I was a kid, so the choices here at number 5 is WWF No Mercy. So when I was a kid, like, I'm not a religious person, but wrestling was like church to me when I was like a teenager growing up. Every Monday I was sitting there watching Monday Night Raw. I was playing all the wrestling games. So really, if I could generalize and kind of, I guess we'll do like a cheat like Vito. I probably would put all the wrestling games in number 5, right? But specifically for one choice, it's No Mercy because this is the one that had the most customizability. It had the most moves. This was really the peak of AKI's wrestling engine on the N64, which started with WCW NWO World Tour, which we all played and we talked about in the previous episode. But No Mercy had like the biggest roster. It was like at the sort of the height of the Attitude Era, as they call it in WWF at the time, now WWE. And I put so much time into this. My brother and I, just between matches we'd make up, stuff we'd set up with the AI, playing through the road to WrestleMania mode, trying to buy everything in the SmackDown store. Like this was just the ultimate racing game, or excuse me, wrestling game ever for me. And it's something I can still play today. Like it's slow and sluggish, you could say, but it's still so freaking fun. So, like anytime I play it now, it's just like riding a bike. Like I just remember the controls instantly. I know how to do everything.
Yeah, it's so weird that like we'll play the 2K series now, and every time we pick it up, I always have to ask you certain button moves. But if we go back to those old ones, I slip right back into it.
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, left C picks up a weapon.
Yeah.
R is guard and whatnot and reversal. Yeah, exactly. So No Mercy is, if I had to put one wrestling game on here, it's No Mercy. Like
I would expect no less from you. Just like Vito with an Indiana Jones game, you need a wrestling game.
I need it in my top 5. Yeah. All right, Vito, we're getting to our top 4 here. So go ahead with your number 4.
All right, my number 4. I think this is the part we're starting to get into what I consider the heavy hitters.
This is the heavy hitters because the top 3 is rough. It's tough. Yeah. And then 4 is like the one, obviously just barely cracked the top 3. But this is stuff where it's like, this is stuff we spent arguably the most time on or we love the most. And Vito, you and I put this at the same spot, which is kind of ironic here.
It's Mario Kart 64.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about this in the Mario Kart episode where I was sitting in with you guys on that one. There's just a lot to say about this. It was the first time I was really, really into Mario Kart as I owned this game, so I sunk in a lot of hours into it. It had the great multiplayer mode that we all enjoyed and played. It's just a really, really, really good game. I still think it's top 3 or 4 Mario Kart game. I mean, I don't know where I'd put World yet at this point, but yeah, it's just super enjoyable.
I think this was number 3 on my list. Was it? I can't remember. Usually, you remember better than I do for these things.
I don't remember. It was higher than mine, surprisingly.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah. I think I had mine at like 3 or 4.
Oh, okay.
And so yours was higher than that.
It's probably like 3 or something like that. Yeah. I love this game for the exact reasons you said, Vito, because one of my fondest memories for this, and this is I share with Ducey because, like I said, when I got the N64, we had one controller for like it had to have been a month, and I only had Mario Kart. My brother and I were renting a bunch of games. Some I'll mention on my honorable mentions list later here. But we were switching off GPs over and over and over, trying to learn all the tracks. And when my mom came home with that controller from Kmart, the black controller I still have today, we completely lost our shit at that point because like, yes, we can finally do 2-player. Now we wait for a third controller to play with my brother. All right, so we'll go back to Ducey with your number 4.
So my number 4, like you said, these are all going to be the heavy hitters, and I think a lot of repetition because of just how impactful they were to us and to the N64. This might also be a little bit low compared to others, but I'm putting the original Super Mario 64 down here at 4th, off the podium. Sorry, guys. But surprisingly, like, this game was just so good. This was the reason I wanted an N64. This was the reason I wanted to just go to any game store with a kiosk and play the little demo of it. I could not wait until I got an N64. And then when I finally picked one up, I never got Mario 64. I ended up getting Mario Kart 64 first and then GoldenEye and stuff. I can't remember when I finally got Mario 64. It must have been for like a random birthday. A friend got it for me or something. But I would just borrow it so much from you or from my neighbor across the street that I felt like I got enough playtime out of it. And then eventually I got it. And only recently, probably during the pandemic or a little after, I finally got all 120 stars on the Switch 3D All-Stars version.
And I think you only unlock a special Yoshi appearance, I think, at the end of that, right?
You go
to the top of the castle.
Go up on the castle and see Yoshi, and then he gives you like a bunch of 1-ups.
Yeah.
And you don't really need to have that because you've done everything.
It's funny because you and I both shared the same instance where we didn't have this game for a long time, and I feel like that would have been solved if Nintendo had just packed this game in like they should have.
True.
At the beginning, yeah.
I was a little annoyed back then when like
we all were.
Yeah,
one controller and no packing game anymore.
I mean, I got a Nintendo that came with Mario. I got a Super Nintendo that came with Mario. What are they trying to cheap us out on here?
Yeah, go buy that $70 game is what they want.
Yeah,
that's what we did. Yeah. So let's see. So to reiterate, my number 4, it's Mario Kart 64. So now we'll get into our top 3. All right, Vito. So you get the privileges here. Start us off with your number 3.
All right, my number 3 is the first Zelda game I ever finished, and that's Ocarina of Time.
Hey, same here.
I mean, this was the first 3D Zelda. It had the I call it an open world, I guess. It was, free.
It's
free
open
roam.
world. Yeah. It's definitely open world in 1998.
Right. Yeah, 1998 version of an open world. I really like the time jumping aspect of it. You play as adult Link and Kid Link, and you see the disparities between the two Hyrules and the two time periods. The boss battles were really great. It's just a legendary game in my opinion. Like, I mean, I don't really know what else to say, to express how much I've enjoyed this one.
It really took. I know we're going to talk about it a third time, but if you look at it, it really took what Super Nintendo did, A Link to the Past, and then just blew it up into 3D.
It 3Dified it 100%. The same exact format. Yeah, with the 3 sort of pendants in Link to the Past and 3. What do you call them in here? I guess they're not gems. They're the...
Oh, I forgot what they were called.
I forgot what they're called.
Yeah.
But yeah, the stones. The 3 stones, and then going on to like the 8 dungeons after. Yeah, well, absolutely.
And then, like I said, when I was talking about Indiana Jones, is the inventory system was really inspired, in my opinion. And it was so good that Indiana Jones stole it and used it for that one. So, yeah, it's just a great, great game.
All right, Ducey, we're cracking top 3. Your number 3.
Okay, so my number 3 is the correct position for this.
So objectively, I think you're probably right. It's always like this list was probably the hardest list I think I put together for us, at least, because it's just so packed.
I'm surprised too. I mean, I don't think it got too high on the how many were sold. that you mentioned earlier. But my
But it's
number
kind of a
three,
late game too, though, right? It's
Yeah.
like 2000, yeah. But anyway,
2001, 2000.
maybe 2001.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be a 2001 game.
It was
if it's not
later
late
than-
if it's not late 2000, it's early 2001.
It was later than we thought, and it is Perfect Dark, which we've already mentioned before, down there at your guys' bottom.
Drill that one in, Deuce.
Yeah. No, it's probably cheating with what, my later games is going to be above this, but like Perfect Dark still deserves a spot really high up there for me, because even though it came out so late in the life of the system, I played it a ton, even when I had a PS2 by this point, or a little bit after.
We were playing multiplayer for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is crazy how much we would still go back to N64, and Perfect Dark was keeping it alive. And the amount of times I would replay the single player story, even though it was a lot longer than GoldenEye and a lot more involved. There were a lot of places where I would actually die more than I would in GoldenEye, but it didn't deter me. I would still play it through as if it was like one giant movie or something. And yeah, I just can't say enough good things about this game. It was a surprise to me because I was a little bummed that they weren't doing another Bond game, even though those had moved on to PlayStation. But when I got this, I was like, it's a good thing their hands weren't tied, because this was so fun, so amazing. It fit right in with my personality too, because I was a huge sci-fi nerd. I like Stargate and
That's
Star
true.
Trek and all of that.
This is a perfect number 3 for you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So yeah, just can't say enough good things about Perfect Dark, and really am so pissed at Microsoft for what they did recently.
Yeah, that's. I mean, we'll hop on it again, but it's just the game industry is in a weird, ridiculous spot, and there's certain companies that are worse than others, and Microsoft is really on my shit list right now.
Yeah,
because it's like. Perfect Dark, like they announced it 7 years ago. They showed an incredible trailer. I say like within the last 2 years.
Yeah.
last year I think.
Last year,
Yeah.
and we're like, wow, this finally looks great. And then we get the news that this quadruple A game, as they were trying to coin,
Yeah.
and they just killed it. It's just absolutely disgusting. So unfortunately, we only have Perfect Dark 1, which I think is miles better than Perfect Dark 0, because Perfect Dark 0 was the last game to come out, and that was 2005. So 18 years late. No. 20 years later, we still don't have a Perfect Dark game, much less one that is as good as the original in 2000, where the hell it was. Yeah. All right, fellas. So I'm gonna be totally transparent, saying my top 3 was really, really hard for me. So this might be a little bit sacrilegious to some people, but I put GoldenEye at number 3 on my list. Yeah. Just because, again, like the two games I put above this, I just love them so much, and I have so much fondness for. But GoldenEye, we did a whole episode on it. I have so much fondness for this as well because of what it did for first-person shooters, what it did for console gaming, more importantly, what it did for multiplayer gaming. Like, this is the game that connected all of us. Like, when we got together, we were always playing GoldenEye on multiplayer. The different difficulties, that all different objectives, from agent to 00 agents, all the unlockable cheats. Like, this is just a very robust movie tie-in game that really still holds up today. It's despite its age. But it still is one of the best movie tie-in games that has ever existed. So I don't want to say it doesn't deserve any more above this. It's just I think this is definitely a top 3 N64 game at minimum, if not number 1 for most people. So for me, it's number 3. It's painful to put it there. I love GoldenEye, but it's settled at number 3 for me. All right, Vito, we're getting to your top 2 here. So go ahead and kick us off with your number 2.
All right, my number 2 is Super Mario 64. I can't express how mind-blowing this game was for me and probably both of you guys to see Mario make that jump to 3D. I really loved that you could jump through the different paintings and pick the objective, the star that you wanted to get, but you didn't necessarily have to get that star. You could get a different one. You could just find it, and that would, you'd solve that one. You'd be like, that's number 6, not number 1. I picked number 1, But the sad thing is it would kick you out of the painting. You'd have to jump back in. That was kind of the drawback. But the variety in the levels, there was like a haunted house, underwater level, which are 2, I think, underwater levels, which I really loved both of them. The Bowser fights were really awesome, grabbing him by the tail and swinging him around, trying to hit the bombs.
That was so innovative.
It was.
Yeah.
What better way to showcase the analog stick than that?
Yeah. And
If you think about like Bowser fights, you've never really fought him. Like in the original, you had to run under him and drop the bridge. In the third one, you just had to wait till he smacked through the floor. And in this, in World, you had to throw
toss the little
things
mechanical
at him.
Bowsers, yeah.
And in this one, you finally were like, okay, how is Mario going to take on this behemoth? grab his little tail.
Yeah, and you know, I never actually got all 120 stars when it on the 64 version. I just never did it as a kid. I finally did it during COVID when 3D All Stars came out, and I replayed it. I went through it, got all the stars, and then got the see Yoshi on the roof and tell me what a great job I did.
Yeah, thanks, Yoshi.
But yeah, it's the the Mario game that started the 3D platformers, and we wouldn't have Odyssey, which is probably one of my favorite games ever, if it was not for Mario 64. So I think number 2 is just like a great spot. It could have gone at 1. I mean, really, it could have. But 2, because of another game that we'll talk about, that's where it falls for me, and I think it fits there perfectly.
Yeah, I think one thing to say about our top 3 is that really any of these games we're going to mention could be on number 1 easily. So it's just a matter of preference at this point. But all of our top 3, even top 5, you could argue for top 1 or 2, really. Ducey, hit us with your number 2, which this one I'm not surprised at for you. I think it fits perfectly, just like Perfect Dark did.
Oh, yeah. If you know me, you know this had to go into one of the podium spots. This is Mario Kart 64, my first ever N64 game. And, like, just thinking back about it all, I think I have the most memories with this game than any other. And I just remember going to your house and playing it, and like you always mentioned the controller thing. I remember going to other friends' houses just to play the game. I didn't care if I saw them, really. I was like, you have an N64, let's play Mario Kart. So
Don's not available today. You got Mario Kart?
Yeah.
like a druggie looking for his fix.
And weirdly, like, I didn't play this one at kiosks like I did the Mario 64 because I didn't want the shortened time limit with it. I wanted to do full cups and full races and everything. And luckily, when we found the N64 for sale at Costco, it came bundled with Mario Kart 64, which was perfect for me. I was like, I don't need anything else at this point. Just give me those. I bargained so hard with my parents. I was like, go halvesies, and then I'll pay you back. Whatever, just to get this in my home. But yeah, it had to go up there at number 2, and the only thing that beats it is what finally tore me away from it.
The one game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say it's a very perfect choice for you. I'd say if I was thinking N64 and Ducey, it'd be this. And yeah, number 1, of course.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah. My number 2 is Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. I will admit and say that before this game came out, I was not sure about the hype. I was like, really? Like, what's this big deal about Zelda 64?
Yeah, I just like knew Zelda in name only, really.
Yeah, like I had played through the Link to the Past, and that's one that I got like after the fact, because I actually played at a friend's house. I was like, what is this game? I have no idea. I've never played a Zelda before that, right? And I loved Link to the Past, and when I finally got this game, first I had rented it at the warehouse, as I like to mention all the time. And, the warehouse only had single day rentals.
Oh,
so
God.
I told him, I was like, can we please get this? Because I have to return tomorrow. And there's no way I'm going to get anywhere in this
You barely
game.
got through the Deku tree.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when I finally got my hands on this game, I was completely blown away by the 3D environments, the scale of it. I still will argue that the Deku Tree is one of the greatest opening dungeons in any game because it totally introduced you to so many mechanics of the game. Like, I always go back to, like the Deku Tree has multiple floors. And I always go back to the instance in this game where the game teaches you that you have these, the Deku sticks, I think they're called, like the bamboo shoot sticks things. And you can light them on fire and then crouch to light the web that's below you because you're stuck in this room. You have nowhere to go. And you're like, well, where do I go? And you see that you could go further into the tree by burning that web with the fire. And I don't think I really played a game that had that level of interactivity before, where it said like you'll look around your environment and see what elements you can use or what things are in the environment that you could use to progress in the levels. The dungeons are absolutely amazing in here. The graphics look amazing, and despite this game not having much voice acting at all, like it's just really sounds more than anything else.
Yeah.
It has a really great story with, like Vito said, the time traveling mechanic and seeing when Ganondorf takes over Hyrule and then the devastation 7 years later as adult Link. Like, that's a pretty crazy and bleak way to portray things, right? Because when you go into the future as adult Link, like, there's like zombies, like these kind of zombies.
You're greeted
that
with
scream.
zombies immediately.
Yeah, and like it just looks like a totally different world, like going into the Dark World and Link to the Past. So for me, this was like one of the ultimate adventure games. It's one of my favorite N64 games, and I've only played through it a handful of times. Like, I'd say like 2.5 maybe. But the impact I had when I first played this game, going through all the dungeons and the Z targeting was a big innovation. Like everything this game did was just freaking top notch, and it's just one of my top N64 games ever for good reason.
It says something that like we can rank this so high, even though it has one of the most infamous dungeons.
Yeah, the water temple is a nightmare. I remember I had 2 guides for that because I was subscribed to Nintendo Power, and I feel like they had some different tips that were more helpful than the guide I had. So that's how much of a nightmare that was, because I was using the guide to go through the game. I was like, oh my god, this is awful.
They did fix that on the 3DS version.
I had read that, which I need to play through because I do own it. I played like a little bit just to get through like Kokiri Forest, but I need to finish that because that 3D one's really great too.
Yeah, I mean, didn't they give like a dedicated button for your boots? There was, I can't remember if it was in that one or in one of the other things, but like the main problem with the water temple is always having to put on the iron boots.
Yeah.
And you always have to scroll into the system, into the pause menu.
I might be wrong, but I think the 3DS might have the equipment on the bottom screen so you get quick swap.
Oh, yeah, that might be.
That's probably the case.
Yeah.
Because I didn't get too far to really understand it, but I'm assuming that's probably that's like the easiest thing you could do for a quality life change, really, is just consolidate everything to the touch screen.
That's really all you needed in that one. Is like, you know what you're coming up to, so you just quick equip and then quick like take it off, and then you're fine with that. It's just a weird maze. I didn't have too much problem with it back in the day because I had the official Nintendo Power strategy guide, and I just like followed it step by step.
Yes, that's what you had to do back then with the water temple. Like I was only 13 at the time. I was like, I definitely followed the thing to the letter if I could. Yeah. All right, guys. So we're about to hit number 1, but before we get to number 1, maybe we should share some dishonorable mentions and honorable mentions. So we don't want to spend too much time, but maybe just kind of go through your dishonorables first. These are games
that'll be quicker.
Yeah, exactly. There's a short list, and then honorable mentions. I just kind of go through, maybe say why maybe it didn't hit your top 10 or why it's on your list. But dishonorables, that's really stuff that, for one reason or another, either is just a plain bad game or disappointing. More so on the bad side, because again, like the N64 didn't have a giant library. It was under 300 games in the US, but there's still some stinkers we definitely played. So, Vito, go ahead and go through your dishonorable and honorable mentions.
Okay, so I'll go dishonorable first. It's pretty short, and let me preface, 2 of these games I actually don't think are bad. There's just reasons why they're on there. So, but the first one I actually think it's kind of bad, but there's a worse version, a worse game, but that's WCW Mayhem. I just remember getting it, and I think it was the first EA published.
It was the first one under EA. Yes.
Yeah, and I just didn't like it. I don't know. I just couldn't get into it, and the backstage stuff was weird to me. Now this one, you guys are gonna say it's sacrilege.
Yeah, this one.
Of
all the things that shocked me on this list, of all our lists, I was like, what?
So what's
wrong with this?
So it's Donkey Kong 64.
Yikes.
I don't know. Like I said, I don't think it's a bad game. I just think I get overwhelmed with the amount of collectibles that I just turn it off.
Which is totally fair. Yeah. Again, 3,200 collectibles.
Yeah. So it's just really overwhelming. I should just sit through it and play it. Following that up is Mission Impossible.
Oh, man.
I don't think it's really a bad game. I just think it was overly ambitious for what they could actually do.
I forgot about it. I could have put it on my honorable mention because I actually really liked it.
I like it. So I will say though, it doesn't age particularly well because I played it a couple years ago when I finally got a complete box copy because it was like $30 or what the hell it was.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is not controlled as well as I remember it. It doesn't look as good as I remember it. But back then it was really freaking fun. I really did enjoy this.
So I did like that they had variety in the missions. Like there was, different infiltration, all sorts of stuff, stealth. Yeah. I don't know. It was a little bit clunky, and if you try playing it now, it looks like crap. I mean, honestly, it really does. And I think the number one most dishonorable here is South Park. I still am a big South Park fan, and when I got it, rented it from Blockbuster, and it was a first person weird shooter type game. I was like, no, this isn't it. Honorable mentions, I have Goemon's Great Adventure. It's just a charming, weird, platformer.
Isn't it? It's not an RPG though. It's like
it's more of like
elements.
It's more like an action adventure game with like light RPG, like literal role playing kind of elements, but not so like a level up system. Or anything.
Next one, it would be on my top 10, but didn't come out in the US, and I didn't play it till it was on Virtual Console. That's Sin and Punishment on-rail shooter by Treasure. It's really, really fun. Showtime NBA on NBC. It's basically NBA Jam, but it has the NBC license.
We learned that too late.
Yeah. I really love it.
It's really cool.
I picked it up just because I think it's just fun. Diddy Kong Racing. It could also go on the top 10. I just don't have as much nostalgia for it as I do for like Mario Kart or something like that. Spider-Man, I think it's just really fun. There's tons of different costumes you could unlock. There's some voice acting by Stan Lee, which is in there, or some dialogue, however you want to put it. Just really, really fun game. Rogue Squadron, I mean, what could you say about that one? It's just a great X-Wing, fighter game. It's awesome. Duke Nukem 64. I think that actually might have been the first, shooter I played. I remember it was the first one I rented for N64.
Wow, that's crazy.
Nice.
Yeah, and now it's kind of hard to play because of the controls. Like my brain adjusted to the modern controls, and it's a little bit hard. And then The World's Not Enough. I just think it's a great Bond game, also with full voice acting, which was crazy for the N64.
I would say it's one of the most underrated N64 games, frankly.
Yeah, and those are my honorables.
All right, do you see your dishonorables and honorables?
My dishonorable, not too much of a list here because, I think when I think about N64 games, I was okay with their quality sometimes, but not these.
There's a line. Like there's definitely some schlock we'll deal with because it's fun, and there's some that are just like, this is bad. I'm glad I only rented it.
To start off, Doom 64.
Yeah.
In the years since, I actually really like it when it came out on Switch or on the modern consoles
because we could see it.
Yes, that is the only reason it is on a dishonorable mention here is because what were they thinking? It's pitch black.
Yeah, for context, so this game isn't bad. It's just Deuce and I physically could not play this back then when I rented it because on both our TVs, we tried cranking up the brightness to the max, both on the TV and in-game settings, and I swear we could not see any of the level. We were stuck in like the first level, like we have no idea where to go. We found out that you could use the auto map, as they called it, and we kind of would guide ourselves through that. But that's stupid. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, you're not seeing anything. You're not even seeing the enemies really until they're right on you. The other dishonorable here for me is Jet Force Gemini, because I was a big fan of Rare, as is evidenced by my 2 through 10. But this one was just a huge misstep, and I think we've talked about it before.
We mentioned on our Great Games That Don't Click,
where
we mentioned like there was a lot of hype behind this, and we tried playing it, and it was a miss for us. It was one of the rare, I say rare misses, but yeah.
Rare did a good job with it. It had the voice acting, and it had an interesting story.
It just has some flaws that kind of...
Yeah, I couldn't get into it. Yeah. And then the last dishonorable for me was NFL Quarterback Club 98. It's weird to see a sports game on any of our lists, but this one, I was a huge fan of Quarterback Club 96 on the Super Nintendo because Madden really wasn't hitting on the Super Nintendo. I know it was big for Genesis. It was a big seller there, and they did really good things with it. But for some reason, it didn't translate well over to Super. And then Quarterback Club was, I think, by Acclaim, I want to say.
That sounds about right.
Yeah,
Acclaim.
Right. Yeah. And when they tried to jump into the next generation, they did horrible with it. And it really drove me into being a Madden fan on the PlayStation because it just was a clunky mess on the N64. I rented it once, and I don't even think I played it the full 3 days.
Wow.
I was just like, no, I can't get through this. But moving on to my honorable mentions, I mean, any of these could have been in my top 10. It is crazy.
You and I have a lot on our list, so that's why I want to kind of barrel through, because you and I just kept typing them, because there's so much we love.
Yeah, there was like, there's an entire second top 10 here. But
there is.
I somehow inadvertently kind of did this alphabetically.
Oh, I didn't catch that. You're right. Yeah.
My first one I'll mention is The World Is Not Enough. 007 is what put it at the top of the list. But The World Is Not Enough, it was a great follow-up to GoldenEye. But the problem back then was it was compared to GoldenEye.
Exactly, yeah.
Second one, Battle Tanks. I did not expect to like this one, but when Don got it, we just spent days on the multiplayer.
I rented this multiple times because even the single player, I think you do single player co-op too, I think, right? Yeah, so we did a lot of that. And then multiplayer was just dumb fun for 4 people. It was great.
Duke Nukem 64. It was what introduced me to alternate control settings on the N64. You could move around with the C buttons and then look with the stick. And I was like, oh, this should translate to every first-person game. Mario Golf and Tennis. I labeled that this would be like 12th on my list. It was so close. The main reason I liked both of these was just my memories of playing with my parents. Like, even my dad would get in on Mario Golf.
Oh, I know he got into golf.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And it was so basic, but we would even sit there, play full tournaments, and actually tally up our handicap, because as a golf game, it kept track of the handicaps, which was weird. And then we would play like night after night on those games. Another one that I'm surprised didn't actually hit any of our top 10s was Mario Party. 1, 2, and maybe 3. I don't remember playing 3 too much.
We didn't play 3 much because I remember I rented that and brought it over.
Yeah.
But again, that was like another late release where we were probably just playing Perfect Dark or tons of other stuff.
But this was both 1 and 2. This was a huge playthrough with all of our friends on a Saturday, and even my mom would join in on the games. Nagano Winter Olympics 98.
This almost made my top 10. Almost.
I knew I could not put it on my top 10 anywhere because it is like objectively bad, but so much fun.
Yeah.
Rush 2. I liked this one just better than the San Francisco Rush. It took what that did and made everything bigger and better. Snowboard Kids. This was a weird like kart racer, but not really. It was just downhill on snowboards, but you had weapons that you could knock out the other racers with.
And I think some tricks and stunts.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. That was a little limited system that worked. Yeah.
Yeah. And then 3 Star Wars games, all of the Star Wars on N64. We got Episode 1 Racer, great racing game. Rogue Squadron, great flying game. This is what you wanted from Star Wars. And then Shadows of the Empire, which we talked about earlier. Wave Race 64, amazing water physics for the N64, and just more fun than you think you would have with it. It was,
Yeah. Very early N64 game, too.
Yeah. Here's where I put the wrestlers, WCW, NWO, WWF, all the things by THQ. And then Winback, a lot of very underrated game.
Horribly underrated. I remember you rented this, and I was also hooked onto it, too. And I don't think I bought it, unfortunately. I need to get that one.
Oh, wow, you still don't have it?
Yeah, I have the PS2 port, which is also great because it's just a nicer looking version of the
Yeah.
N64 one. Yeah,
But luckily it's on the Switch Online.
It is, yeah. It's a really cool cover-based shooter before that was really popularized. Like, feels a little clunky, but, it's still really, really fun. Definitely a good choice for you, I would say.
Yeah.
All right, so on my list, so Dishonorable, we have Earthworm Jim 3D. I was a big fan of the first 2 games on the Super Nintendo and Genesis, and this was just a bizarre, awful miss. This was just everything wrong with 3D games was in this game, unfortunately. I put WCW Backstage Assault because this is one of the worst wrestling games, if you want to call it that. Because this is all it takes place in Backstage. We covered this pretty well at length in one of our wrestling episodes pretty recently, within the last couple months.
Yeah, the one with Mike I've
few
episodes back.
A few episodes back. Yeah, it was a really fun one. So this game was just awful. Like I didn't get to play it till later in life, but even then, this is a game where I know if I played it back then, I would have hated it just the same. Castlevania 64. I am a huge Castlevania fan, as I've mentioned tons of times on this podcast. And I was really excited to play a 3D Castlevania. And well, this game isn't absolutely terrible. It's just I'm comparing it to Symphony of the Night at the time. So it's kind of hard when I love 2D, and that's, the Metroidvania of it, which wasn't really coined at the time. It was just a Metroid game, really. Compared to this 3D, clunky, ugly, poor animation, poorly controlled Castlevania game was just such a disappointment for me. It was just really, that one really just chipped away at my heart, unfortunately.
Wasn't there a follow-up to this that kind of made it better?
It was the Wolf one, which was called Legacy of Darkness, which is really rare now because it's basically like what this was supposed to be. This was, I think the story is that this was rushed to release.
And got a lot chopped out.
Which would eventually be Legacy of Darkness, which is like an optimized, streamlined version of this. So it's a less bad version of this.
Yeah.
And then there's Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero. This is a guilty pleasure, but I was a huge Mortal Kombat fan, and I still am. I always say like at the time, but I was big into Mortal Kombat, and I was really looking forward to this sort of 2D adventure game, and it looked fantastic in screenshots because it digitized graphics. When you play it, it's just like a clunky Mortal Kombat in a 2D game mess, including the button that causes you to change your perspective, like looking left or right, which is not conducive to playing fluidly at all. It's just not a great game, but I love it nonetheless. Plus, the PS1 version is arguably better because it has actual FMV cutscenes in it. And then I have the South Park games. This is all of them. Because none of them were really good. Like, I'd say the first-person shooter is arguably the least worst, but it's still not very good.
We got some playtime out of it.
We got some playtime out of the multiplayer, but it's just like a generic Turok kind of South Park game that clearly was rushed. South Park Rally is a cart game that is garbage because it forces checkpoints on you, which kind of ruins the game. Yeah. And there's South Park Chef's Love Shack, which suffered what a lot of games did back then, which were sort of like the Jeopardy's and Wheel of Fortunes, where you get repetitive questions pretty soon into it.
Also, it forced multiplayer. You didn't have computer opponents.
That's right. Yeah. So the South Park games were just all terrible. Jet Force Gemini is on my list for pernicious reasons that do say outline, where it's not a bad game, it's just one that I didn't really like, and I was definitely disappointed with, especially with Rare's pedigree before that. For my honorable mentions, I'll kind of try to go through these quick. I had Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire, which narrowly avoided my top 10. That was on my top 10 until I bumped it out for Perfect Dark because it's Perfect Dark.
Yeah.
And even then it's too low, according to Deucey. I have Resident Evil 2, mostly because this is a miracle port. To me, this is like a miracle in software engineering that they got a 2 CD based game into a cartridge that shouldn't have been possible, including the FMV cutscenes, which granted have compressed audio and sound like they're in a hollow room, but it doesn't matter. They got the entire Resident Evil 2 experience plus bonuses in a cartridge. It's one of the most impressive ports I've ever seen in my life, and one of the more impressive N64 games all throughout, because you really did not see PS1 ports, especially with exclusive games, on the N64. It's usually multi-platform or N64 is compromised in some way, and this is almost completely uncompromised with the exception of like the compression stuff.
Yeah, I remember the Tony Hawk games would go to both, but like they'd be so edited
like
on N64.
The music was like, 30-second loops or something like that. So it's to me, it's the wildest port and one of the most impressive ones.
Yeah.
Nagano Winter Olympics for the same reason Deucey did. I remember I didn't have many friends in middle school at all, but I was playing this at a friend's house at his birthday party. I was like, damn, this game's fun as hell. And I rented it, brought it to Deucey's house, and we were hooked ever since. Like, we'll still pop this in now. Despite its basic controls and its basic mini games, there's something so stupidly fun about this game that it just keeps us drawn to it. Mace the Dark Age. I didn't mention too much on the N64, but the N64 was sorely lacking in RPGs and fighting games, which I love fighting games more than anything else. And there's no 2D fighters really. The 3D games were mostly garbage on here, but Mace the Dark Age was a really solid 3D weapon-based fighting game. It's kind of like Soul Calibur before Soul Calibur. Granted, there was Soul Blade, but before like Dreamcast Soul Calibur. Let's see, we had Hybrid Heaven. This was a really unique sci-fi RPG on the N64 that I liked. Killer Instinct Gold. My brother and I played the hell out of this when we got the N64. Majora's Mask, of course. Rush 2. Banjo-Kazooie. It's Sight Bike 64, which the reason I put this on my top 10 is because it got just unapologetically hard towards the later cups. It was brutal.
Yeah, I forgot. I could have even put this on my dishonorable because like the rubber banding was insane on this game.
It ruined the game for me.
But what saved it was like there was that soccer mode that was fun.
Yeah, there was soccer mode. They had like a mountain hill climbing mode. The multiplayer was still really fun. It's just a flawed game that I wish was easier in the single player. And then the Turok series, I put that on there, all three of them, more notably 1 and 3. We have a really great episode on that series as well. Paper Mario and Pokemon Stadium for all the reasons I mentioned before because of the transfer pack.
Paper Mario, great RPG.
One of the rare ones on there and really, really good. Yeah. So I'm going to change things up a little bit, fellas. I'm going to go through my number one first because you both have the sort of number one on there. That makes sense. Right? So I'll go with number one first before you guys reveal yours. My number one is Super Mario 64. Vito, you touched on a lot about this, about why it was so great. But for me, when I first played this at a Blockbuster kiosk, which is how like a lot of games I learned of were through the Blockbuster kiosk, I could not stop playing this game. There was times like I would just hope that my parents would take me to Blockbuster, whether it's to go rent the movie or whatever, just so I could get time with Mario 64. Because I did have the PS1 at the time, but there was nothing on the PS1 that came close to the control, the fluidity, and really the 3D that Mario 64 had. And for me, when I started I started becoming a gamer really because the first game I played was Super Mario Brothers on the Nintendo. And this was the ultimate Mario game to me because you had the greater sense of scale, you had the giant Bowser, you had these gigantic levels with all these different objectives and whatnot. To me, this is just like the ultimate step into 3D and really what sort of solidified the 3D gaming, like 3D platforming especially. And I still have platformers today. So all the reverence I have for this game is all rooted partly for nostalgia because you can argue that there are certain games that probably deserve number one, and I would say I wouldn't argue against them. But Mario 64 was just such an impact on me, and like it's so fun to pick up and play, and I don't know, it just to me it is number one on the N64. This is like a genre-defining game and a system-defining game in my eyes.
It surprises me sometimes that like Mario 64 right out of the gate did everything so well for 3D and 3D platforming, and then games even to this day sometimes don't get it right. And you're like, what? They had the blueprint from day one.
Yeah, and Mario 64 also it's such a great showcase for what the N64 for one does for the hardware-wise, for the graphics, the sound, and everything like that, but also for the controller because we talk about the actual N64 controller, but it is one of the most awkward things you'll ever hold in your lives. Right? Like it's 3 prongs, it's got a D-pad, it's got an analog stick, which was totally unfamiliar to me at the time. Like, that's a little bit of a learning curve there. but it showed you what that controller was made for, with the control and like the camera control with the C buttons, your sort of attack with B and your jumping with A. It was just such a special game, and to me, it's easily one of the most influential games ever, and still one of the most iconic games ever. So, with my number one, fellas, I think it's time for you guys to share your number one game on the N64 of all time.
Yep, we're gonna say the only one that we matched on.
Yeah,
you guys
which is kind of ironic. Yeah.
GoldenEye
Yep.
for the N64, number one. Like I said, this was the game. This was my second ever game, and it was the only one that tore me away from Mario Kart. Was once I got this, I mentioned it on the episode alone. Like, I remember exactly when I rented it, the day and everything, and then I remember like when I got it, I was like, okay, drop everything else. We have to get this one.
Yeah, I mean, this one, I said this on the GoldenEye episode, it's what crystallized my love for James Bond. You know, at the time before this game, my dad had introduced me to Goldfinger, and then I went back and watched all the movies, and then this game came out, and it was so hard to find, and then I found it, and it was mind-blowing. Like, the variety and the levels, like, the objectives would change, the more difficult you put the settings, the multiplayer, just the amount of memories I have with friends and cousins playing that, the variety in characters you could select, the bad guys, you know, cheating with the odd job, like all sorts. I mean, it's just an amazing game, and it's clearly a number one. You like I said, you could have put Mario 64 in there for all the reasons we talked about, but man, GoldenEye, for what it was for a movie licensed game, it just was, you know, blew everything out of the water. I
think what keeps it up here at number one, because a lot of people will argue it didn't age well, especially controls wise. Like, we have so many better controls for FPS games now, but like, if you think about it, everybody we talk to talks about GoldenEye. You say Nintendo 64, and they say GoldenEye before they say Mario.
Yeah, that's true.
Mario Kart. Yeah. It's crazy. And I'd say that's what would define a number one game on a system, is just like the universal impact.
Well, and I think that's fair, because really, if you look at the two genres, like between like 3D platformers and first-person shooters are wildly more popular than platformers are. Like, that's that it's not like it was way back in the day where 3D platformers were like a dime a dozen. Now it's like there's a dime a dozen first-person shooters.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that everyone who relates to the N64 is going to call out the ultimate first-person shooter on that system, because that's still one of the. Actually, I probably would say this is the biggest genre today. Is first-person shooters, right?
Yeah, that or sports.
Or sports, yeah. So it makes sense that like that is. I would say Mario 64 is like a system-defining game, but so is GoldenEye, and I would say, arguably, objectively for me, I would say GoldenEye is probably the more defining N64 game on the system itself, right?
And aren't they the top two sellers?
I think they were, right? Is that what we had on the list? No, GoldenEye was number 3, actually.
Oh, okay.
Because Mario Kart was number 2. So Super Mario 64 had 11.9 million sales. Mario Kart 64 had 9.8. And GoldenEye with 8 million. I was actually kind of surprised about that.
They were close.
They were damn close, yeah. But still, top 3.
Yep.
Well, perfectly well situated there. All right, guys. So Ducey was nice to tally up the points here, and this isn't like a definitive list. I just thought this would be fun, where you kind of see where all of our choices lie. So I won't call it all 16, because we had like some outliers, because there's some choices that we had that were only on one of our lists.
Yeah, they snuck in at the bottom.
Yeah. So exactly. So how the top 10 shook out after our scoring here, we basically told everything from 10 to 1. So if you get number 1 gets 10 points, number 10 gets 1 point. This is how it all shook out here. So number 1, or excuse me, I'll start with number 10 actually. We'll go that way. Number 10 is Conker's Bad Fur Day with 5 points. And technically tied with that is Banjo-Kazooie at 9 with 5 points. WWF No Mercy with a good showing at 10 points at number 8. Super Smash Bros. Is number 7 with 11 points. Star Fox 64 is number 6 with 12 points. Perfect Dark sitting at number 5 with 14 points. Number 4, Ocarina of Time with 21 points. Number 3, Mario Kart 64 with 23 points. Super Mario 64 at 26. And perhaps no surprise to anyone, GoldenEye at number 1 with 28 points.
I like that top 5.
I think that's a really, I would say like, I probably would put Conker at number 10 personally, which I didn't obviously.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad it snuck in. Though.
Yeah, you got that one in there, Vito.
The reason Banjo got the tiebreak was because that got some honorable mentions.
Exactly. I put that on my honorable mentions instead of my top 10.
I mean, it is more of a franchise with some longevity more than Conker. Conker, had the
Yeah.
one game
Yeah,
basically.
like if I had put Banjo on my list and said Donkey Kong, like it would have bumped it up a little bit. But I love Donkey Kong more than Banjo, even though I love both games. But overall, I think that's a really solid top 10. Like you said, I think that top 5 is really tight and probably most appropriate for that. Really, yeah. All right, so we've made it. It's been a kind of a beefy episode so far, but it's not too bad, you know.
As our top 10s usually are.
I know, yeah, but it's always so fun because we get to talk about so much stuff and relive so many memories and everything. It's always a great time, especially because we all grew up together, and it's really fun to look at this quite literally 30 years later.
Yep.
It's
So-
pretty nuts.
Next time, top PlayStation one.
Oh, I'd be
right?
so down for that. Yeah. We can't do top 10 Dreamcast though. That'd be a solo show, I think, at that point. But
We'll just sit back and listen to you.
it's like, fellas, have you played this? No.
Sonic Adventure.
Rush 2049. There we go.
Do see we had like 4 games. But yeah, top 10 N64 games. I think this was a great episode because it was really special to all of us. So if anyone out there has any top 10 N64 games or just some games you want to shout out, let us know at LegionGamingPod@gmail.com. We're also on Instagram at Legion Gaming Podcast. We're also on Blue Sky, just a smidge at LegionGamingPod.bsky.social. Vito and Ducey, any final words for our friends going off to go play some GoldenEye? Because I'm sure that's what they're going to be playing right now.
I just want to say I love the N64. It's a great, little bit underrated of a console. I just love it.
Now you're playing with power.